Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit on both of them. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Nim.
So, surprise. This is the first episode of season 2, and we are bringing Nim back. 1, because he's one of our favorite people, but 2, also because he held a knife to my throat and said I'm doing every Evil Dead episode. So we're being held hostage. I'm calling for help right now. Not really.
Blink twice if you're serious, right?
We're happy to have you back, dude. And as we said before the call, I'm happy that you gave us the time and chose to come here to put yourself back out there, because I get the benefit of being one of your fans that actually gets to talk to you every once in a while, but I know that everybody else is wondering how you've been. So real quick, for anybody who lives under a rock, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Nim, and I'm the musician behind Shylmagoghnar, which is right now a one-person band. And I never really know what else to say, so that's what I do, basically.
It's like I said last time, dude, you're modest as hell.
I just don't know what to say.
In my opinion, and I know we did this all in the last episode, so I'll keep it brief, but probably one of the most prolific, well put together, blackened melodic death metal bands out there.
Thanks, dude.
Is that atmospheric melodic blackened death metal, or
a bit of everything.
Just extreme metal?
It used to be a very big discussion when we released our first album by the two of us. I think at first I just called it atmospheric metal, and then people were like, well, it's too melodic to be atmospheric, so then I called it melodic metal, and people complained about that. Then I called it black, and then it was not black enough. Then I called it death, it was not death enough. So I ended up just going with the statistic and just going, and it's atmospheric, melodic, blackened, death metal, and if that's not good enough, then fuck off. And then people complain that it's too long. So, people are going to complain. You can't do what you want.
I think it's just that you can get into the discussion we had I think a few months back. It's just like, what are genres anyway? I mean, the most musicians I have ever met in my life have no fucking clue. It's just like, it's funny that usually a lot of fans talk about this whenever you also have a gig with Texas or any of the other bands I've been in. When musicians are backstage, is like, yeah, what kind of music do you make? Because we also make metal. We make with screaming, and it's kind of a little bit death, but not. But yeah, whatever. That's kind of like how all musicians are, But
that's the way, right?
Yeah, no matter what you do, you always have some people complain, because if you call it death metal, other people call it black and death or whatever that is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always feel like oftentimes the fans take that stuff more serious than the bands themselves, right? A question that I get often is, hey, you have black metal in there, yet you use synthesizers. How do you defend this? Stuff like this. Like, not asking you, why are you doing this? They're asking me how I defend this. As if I'm committing some kind of heinous crime by using a certain instrument because I felt like using the instrument that day. Like, dude, chill the fuck out, man.
I know, but I have an easy explanation for that. I brought this up in the past. I think it was one of a very early episode of ours. If you take a cat and put on a hat on its head, it does not stop being a cat. It's now just a cat wearing a hat, and you can apply that to music as well.
Exactly. That will be my answer from now on. Yeah, it's like there's all kinds of purisms in music, and to me, like, what matters is, does it sound consistent with itself? Does it sound as if it belongs there? And sometimes you're a band, it doesn't matter how raw or how raw. If it makes sense in the context, it's fine. But sometimes you're a band that tries to be one and sounds like the other, and then I'm getting some mixed feelings, some mismatch there. It has to make sense, right? It's like those when you have a really crappy movie, but it's super high production values. That kind of makes it even worse, because it feels like someone tried hard on something that's just nothing really, and it's
yeah. I think it's easy to talk about this kind of thing if you're a horror and metal fan, because there's a lot of that in both worlds. Like with horror movies in general, like you'll see something that had top production value. They threw a lot of money into the movie, but the story is just absolute trash.
There's just nothing, right?
Nothing. And with metal, it's a lot of the same thing. Like, I personally try to approach every band as its own thing. Like, I
Yeah,
try
same.
not to say, okay, I'm going to listen to a black metal band right now, or I'm going to
Mhm.
listen to a speed metal band or a thrash metal band. I just want
Yeah.
to hear it, make up my own mind, and then I don't really care what anybody else says they think it is. Because
Same.
honestly, that's just, you're trying to fit the square peg into the round hole just to
Exactly,
make
you
it
got it. Yeah,
more
that's exactly how I feel too.
easy for the
Yeah.
masses to
Yeah.
swallow kind of thing, and I hate that. Unfortunately, that's kind of how we're geared as humans. We need a label on everything to be able to digest it. But
I see the practicality of it. It's like a library. How are you going to find a book if nothing is in order? If everything's just tossed together, it doesn't really work, right? But no one's going to read it. Like, maybe other people do, but most people probably don't read a book because it's a certain genre. They just read the book because they feel drawn towards the writing style or towards that specific author or stuff like that, right?
right. With your stuff, I think I've been a fan, and if I've said all this in the last episode we had you on, forgive me, but I've listened to your stuff since the first album was released, and there was always a quality to it that, I don't know, it's definitely its own thing. It doesn't try to be something else. I think more than anything else, it's atmospheric.
Mhm.
While it's heavy, I think maybe atmospheric metal is probably the best label to put on it. Yeah. So we talked a little bit before we started filming about, not that you've kind of taken a hiatus, but the fact that you've kind of kept away from, social networking and stuff like that, and kind of been grounding yourself a little bit more. And that kind of
Yeah.
leads us into the song that you chose for us to play, to put out
Yeah.
there. But you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been up to?
Yeah, and I actually have to take some notes for that, because the thing with that song is I could talk about it for an hour, but I'd rather not. So
Yeah, that's cool.
So the song I chose is Journey Through the Fog, which is on Transience. And Transience was, for both my bandmate at the time and me, a very troubled album. Not because we were struggling to make the album itself, but both of us were simply not in a good place at all at that time. I can only speak for myself, of course, but I was so clouded by depression at that time that I found it hard to even finish a single thought. It's one of the reasons why I struggle with this album myself nowadays. I haven't listened to it in a very long time, because when I hear it, I am back at that place again. Journey Through the Fog, however, is still dear to me, because that song is specifically written as a way of overcoming adversity, of fighting back against the depression. The thing about that song is it had been written long before Transience, and it had always been written around lyrics, but those lyrics were never public because there was only a demo that had the music. The lyrics were at first going to have a, let's call it a positive ending. It was a fight against depression, going to the fog, of course, and then in the end, the protagonist would somehow break free from that fog. The very, very sad thing about it is, by the time it came to recording that song, I lost one of my friends to suicide. And of course, being in a very bad position myself at that time, has resonated with me on a very deep level, let's put it that way. And like many times when something like that happens, of course, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of feelings of loss, but also anger. Like, why would you do this stuff like that? And I just couldn't help but feel that I got it. I really understood his choice, and he was a big supporter of Shylmagoghnar from the start. We were in high school together, and to me, it made sense that this song that was specifically about overcoming depression should not end in a purely positive way. It should be dedicated to him and people like him who have fought and maybe lost in the end. And in this case, the protagonist of the song ends up finding what he's searching for, namely the sunlight, the thing that breaks the fog, but only in death. And that's why the song is important to me.
Okay. Is there musically, we'll play the song, but musically, is there a specific note? And the only reason I do this is because when I think about music and what a song means, I can usually draw less on the words and more on the way the music sounds to kind of like, get that feeling out and actually feel that feeling. Is there a part of this song specifically that does that for you? Since we're talking about atmospheric stuff.
Yeah, and like it used to be the song of the part of the song that was written long before is the first half, which is more of almost like a marching melody, the trudging through the mud and through the fog, but kind of getting towards the goal even if you can't see it. But in the second half, it feels more like the person is getting lost, basically. He doesn't really know where he is anymore, both musically and lyrically. Yeah, I think especially like the clean guitars and stuff towards the end probably feel like almost like a lullaby or something like that. It's like a goodbye song. So I find it hard to put it into words, but I think there's some stuff there that's... I mean, truth be told, I cannot remember writing it because of the state I was in at that time. So I'm not sure what my exact thoughts were, but that's probably where I was going with it.
Probably also hard to remember exactly back at that time what you were thinking and what you were feeling, because that album came out. When? When was that album released?
18.
Yeah, 2018. You want me to go ahead and play the song so everybody can hear it?
Sure.
Okay. So, song by Shylmagoghnar. This is Journey Through the Fog. Enjoy. All right, that was Journey Through the Fog. We listened while you guys listened. I've probably heard that song, I don't know, 50 times. I think I heard it last week as well. But when you're sitting and you're listening to it, there's certain things that you notice about it that kind of change every time. Like you'll notice new things. I was saying to Nim that there's a part in there where the vocals, the screaming vocals kind of go over spoken word as well. And that's not an easy thing to make work. But I think for this song, it works really well. And you wanted to say something about that?
Yeah. First of all, I was really uncertain about that part. The spoken words, I think that's always, it feels very naked to me. And especially since the song is already from a very vulnerable position, I was very uncertain about it. But I think I leaned into it because I always feel like the song has it has to fulfill its purpose. So if you write a song about being vulnerable, then that's not the time to hide things because you feel vulnerable, right? That's the
Right.
entire point of it. So I put them in there because I was unsure about them, because I hated it, and because I felt like I sucked at it. That made it all the more that I wanted to put it in there, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did. And the other thing is, I've had both positive and negative comments about this in the past. The mix on this album, you can kind of tell that the vocals are more atmospherically mixed than you would usually hear in metal. They're slightly backwards. They're almost on the same level as the rhythm guitars. That was for you. That's probably obvious, but that was a purposeful choice because it is mainly atmospheric, and because the album is kind of supposed to take place in that space in the mind where it's more like a head voice really than it
Yeah.
is an actual spoken voice, and that's the reason. Like I've heard it for the first time since a long time now. The song I just listened to it myself, and I haven't listened to it in ages, so it was pretty interesting to me to now hear what that probably sounded like to other people, and now I understand more why people picked up on that. Me, it was just kind of what it was at that point, you know.
Yeah, I often wonder if other people pick up on stuff like that or for them if it's just, part of a song or whatever. But
Yeah, they
those
tend to
little
be pretty shallow about it.
eccentricities are like the cool part of metal for me.
Another thing in this track that I struggled with, but which I left in on purpose. I was, for many reasons, very out of breath while doing this recording. It's not just my voice, by the way; it's the voice of my bandmate as well. We do like one does one take, then the other does the other take, etc., and then some of them together. The takes that are done by me, which is generally the lower voice, tend to have words at the end of the sentence which are almost swallowed because I'm so out of breath. Because I felt so fucking weak while I was recording them. But you know what? So would the protagonist feel, probably. Like, that's exactly what the protagonist would feel like. So once again, I left it in on purpose because it was imperfect. And that's scary stuff for me because I'm a perfectionist, you know? Like, I know that I can do better than that, but that's the
Yeah.
entire point, really.
Well, that's kind of the thing. There's an argument to be made for that I think's a valid argument. I think one of the reasons, and by no means am I a purist or is Mike a purist or anything like that, but there's very little newer music that I listen to because it is so polished.
It's extremely polished, yeah.
It's so polished, and it's anything that could have made the song interesting because it was imperfect has been wiped completely from the song.
Yeah, totally feel the same way.
I mean, if I had to name the bands, they would be numerous. I'm not going to do that, but there's so many, and it's hard to find stuff that feels raw nowadays.
I think that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the feeling. It's just in metal, I just have the feeling with other types of music. I just have the feeling it's even worse. Let's say,
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to pop, hip hop, and R&B and that kind of stuff, it's like I barely hear anything that does not have auto tuning up the ass, and that kind of really bothers me because it all sounds the same. It all sounds identical.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little.
I think for me that's also one of the reasons. Like I wouldn't say that I'm super into classical music or jazz or anything, but I do think that if you want a pure expression without bullshit, that tends to be a good direction to look in.
Yeah.
The thing about it is you have to really enjoy something like that. It's very different from other things. So
That's true.
especially jazz can be so out there that it's hard to listen to, but really interesting from a musician's perspective, I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's the stuff that I like the most, though. I remember growing up in Mobile, Alabama, and us being in New Orleans, maybe like once every other month, my family would go because we liked to listen to the
Nice.
music that they played in the square and stuff. And just the rawness of that and the fact that a lot of it was just made up on the fly
It's
made it so
insane,
much
right?
more interesting. Yeah,
It's fucking crazy.
yeah, it's nuts. And if you remove that aspect for music, you're just getting a product, if that makes sense. You know what I
It
mean?
does. It does, absolutely. And to a certain degree, that's even what many people chase after. And that's also to a degree that what most record labels probably chase after, because they also want something that they can easily sell to the masses. I mean, I'm on a record label, so I'm part of the problem maybe, but there's still an in-between level, right? And there's different ways a musician can handle it. There's different ways that a record label can handle that. I think as far as I'm on Napalm Records, and as far as they go, they have some really polished stuff, but they also have some stuff where they go like, hey, you do your thing, we know what you have in you, and you just do your thing. And that's true for them, by the way. I think they're a really, really good label in that regard. They have always been very, like, I wouldn't say that Shylmagoghnar is raw, but it's also not so polished as some of the stuff you hear out there.
Yeah.
There has never been any interference from them. Whenever I mix something, they take what they get. They've always been very supportive about it. So I think that's pretty golden for people like me. So yeah,
You're not
they
the
still
first
exist.
person to say that either. I've got 2 other friends that are also on Napalm, and they love those guys.
They're
will believe
really
them
good.
because they're not pushed to create. You know what I
Not at
mean?
all. Not at all. It's one of the first things they said to me when I talked to them is we don't. I forgot the word for it. There's like a term for pushing artists to become a certain way, basically. And they basically said, we don't have this program. We don't do that. We hire you. No, hiring is not the right word. We finance you to be able to do what you do because we feel there is a future in this. That's basically how they work. You do your thing, and if they're lucky and if you're lucky, it sticks. And if not, well, better luck next time. That's just the way it goes. Yeah, my experience with them has been really nothing but positive.
Yeah.
I think I'm mainly saying that because oftentimes when I talk to other people, both musicians and non-musicians, about things being too polished and stuff, everyone just points towards the evil record labels. I mean, evil record labels exist. Don't get me wrong. I have some friends that are on that I know are not very happy about their positions, but it's not always just the record labels. Some of it is also done by the band themselves, and I think it's kind of a cop out to just always point at the label. You know what I mean? Like, it still takes multiple people to make an album. It's not just record labels.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And a lot of the complaints that you hear are all the same too. It's never like, oh, they, they're keeping all my money and blah, 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 or anything like
Yeah,
that. It's
that
almost
shit happens. Yeah.
always they're pushing me in the creation process, which takes everything out of this that was joyful.
hmm
And that's usually the complaint that you hear. It's
Yeah,
a
that
push to
that kills the
create.
music.
Yeah.
If you
But
don't want that, don't join a major label.
no, no.
Not a good idea.
It's not real hard to do things without a label now. It's just that it
Yep.
definitely makes it easier. And for music like yours that is really well contained and really well produced, it's better to have a label anyway. Because
Nowadays, I'm not certain anymore. I'm 50-50 on it. Back then, my stance was always that I was not interested in a label unless it was one of a very few select labels which seemed unattainable to me. One of them was Napalm Records, and mainly because of the track record. And I'm not talking about the super polished stuff, but they also have some of the classics. Like, one of the big ones for me, obviously, was Summoning. It's a very
Yeah.
atmospheric band.
yes,
It was a 2-man show. I don't think they ever played live, or if they did, very rarely.
Mm-mm. No,
The
Summoning's never played
formula,
live.
no, they didn't, right? The formula was
Nope.
very, very similar to the situation we were in, and I felt like that band was still producing quality after album after album after album. So to me, that proved this label cannot possibly be that destructive, or else they would have been dead within 2 or 3 albums. And they
Yeah.
weren't, right? And that to me was like that's always a smoking gun, right? Just look at what happens to the other bands as soon as they get signed. Do they get better, or do they get worse, or do they stay the same? But that should tell you enough about what a label does to a band. And I think
Yeah.
with Napalm, generally, from what I've heard, the bands they take tend to continue on a journey that they were already on when they join. And it's I think that's, if you go
Yeah.
for a label, that's probably what you should go for. Otherwise, do it yourself. Like, you can do most of the things yourself. It really helps to not have to do some of the stuff yourself, like the marketing, trying to get interviews, if you play live, trying to plan shows and that kind of stuff. It can be really draining to many people. So why not choose teamwork then? That's a bit the options that you have, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is for us. I'm probably just speaking for me, but having to do everything on social media and always having to keep a presence and like
Yeah, fuck that.
jumping
Yeah.
around on one foot to try to get people to notice you is exhausting. right?
Yeah.
It would be nice if we didn't live in a world where you pretty much now had to do that
Yeah.
for people to listen to your stuff or to get booked at festivals. But I mean, it's the nature of the machine. And I mean, you can complain about it, and God knows when artists get together, like right now,
Yeah, exactly.
you complain about it because it does feel like there something's being put on you that you don't want. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the business.
There's a lot of shared bitterness between every artist that I know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think anybody that's listening to this that is an artist is probably like, yep.
Yeah.
And I get that.
They
I get
probably
that.
not even holding back at this moment.
Yeah. Especially when you know that the band has enough guts and enough creativity and enough know-how to stand on their own without doing any of that stuff, you know? But that's just kind of the era we're in, unfortunately.
Sorry if I put someone down with that, but I feel like we as musicians, if we complain about this stuff, we also just have to be better than that, you know? As long as we deliver that kind of crap becomes the norm. But once again, there's two sides to this coin.
Right. We had talked earlier about the fact that not that you've stepped away from the project or anything like that, because that's definitely not what's going on.
No, not at all.
But
No.
you've taken kind of some breathing room and everything else to concentrate on other things.
Yeah, I have a hiatus at the moment from the band, and I very purposely did that because I could tell that I was putting myself into that position where I had to make music because I have to make music, and there was no one from the outside who was pushing me to do that. No one. Like, this is completely the voice in my head that is just so absolutely destructive at all times, constantly finding ways to sweep my legs out from under me, right? That kind of stuff. And the longer I did this, the more I went from album to album, because don't get me wrong, even there it says 4 years between the album, I'm working on them every single day. I'm just going crazy over that shit, basically. And the more I did that, the more I was just feeding that voice, just making it stronger, because it basically goes like, okay, this is now the new norm. And whenever you're not doing this, whenever you're not just going complete tunnel vision on this thing, I'm going to find some way to make you self-destructive, basically.
Jesus Christ.
And it's brutal, dude. It's absolutely fucking. I'm so sick of it. I don't even have words for it anymore. But I wanted to get away from it. I wanted to find a way to pull out the roots from that voice, from that destructiveness and that behavior, because I couldn't stand it any longer. And also, like, when I started Shylmagoghnar, I was a teenager. Teenagers can handle that kind of situation, right? But I have a kid now. I'm nearly 40. I cannot be on this maniacal path of self-destruction to find some kind of arcane enlightenment at the other side of the tunnel. That doesn't work. I mean, it does work, but not. You cannot always do this, right? I have other responsibilities, so I wanted to not pull the plug, but basically officially say I am not doing anything right now. Not because that's the truth, but because I wanted to basically give a feedback loop to the voice in my head. So whenever it says like, why are you not working on this? I can just point and go like, there it is. I'm officially not working on anything. So I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. It's like that. And just like I had hoped, it's working. The voice has gotten weaker. The worst of the depression really has been subsiding. And by the way, I'm also getting help with that. Like many people suggested. Thank you all for that, by the way. Seriously.
Which is great, dude.
Fucking amazing. Really amazing support. And because of that, I have more moments of creativity in the band now than I've had for years. Like, it's honestly, like, I don't want to make promises now, because then I'm feeding that fucking thing again. But I am having ideas. I am working on things, and I have a better vision now of what I want to do next time than I did when I posted that message. So all in all, I'm very optimistic about it, really.
Good. I think most of us, I can't say that I speak for the entire fan base because I can't, but I think most of us that really appreciate what the music is or what it means to us would rather you take a break and get yourself right and feel ready for that kind of thing. And I feel like it's also a good opportunity to just say it too. So if you are in a spot where you feel like there is no way out, or you feel like you need a break and you're not sure if you can take it on yourself, because you're right, when you're younger, it is easier to deal with these things. When you're an adult, you know, I'm 46 years old. It took me until I was 42 to say, okay, I need to bring someone else in on this because I can't do it by myself. And I really wish at the time that I had gotten help, that I had reached out sooner, because I may have been in a much better spot when that happened. So to the metal community, from you and from me
Uh,
and from Mike, if you feel like you need help and you're not sure what to do, go get the help.
uh,
Go get the help,
completely agree.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
please.
Just do it. And there's also like it may sound like a cliche, but it's really true. When people say you're not alone, it might be unexpected where help can come from, and you will really find out who your friends are and who aren't in those situations. But there is hope, even if it really doesn't seem like that. That's, by the way, that's also why I chose that song right now. It feels to me like what I went through in the past 2 years or something is very much mirroring that super shitty time that I had during Transience. And well, I came out at the other end of that one alive
Mhm.
and well, and I want that again. I basically want to come out of this one and say, wow, that was a wild ride, but here I am, right? That's what I want to happen. I hope other people will have the same, I don't even know what to call it. It's not luck, but there's a certain level of just sitting through it and hope that you have the patience and the,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
patience
Yeah.
and fortitude.
Patience.
It's
Uh-huh.
and then just being able to admit when enough is enough, and that we're not superhuman. Like the human mind was meant to deal with a lot, right? It was. We are very resilient beings, but at the same time, the whole "it's weak to ask for help" thing,
Uh,
is
yeah, it's
absolute
complete shit.
bullshit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
complete bullshit. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It really is.
The toughest people I know, uh, you know, need help and have
Uh,
needed help. And when they get help, it changes everything. So,
uh,
um, maybe also, and this is an interesting thing. I don't know if anybody else out there that really metal is a great genre to do it, right? But if you are a metalhead and you love this kind of music, maybe try your hand at it.
yeah,
Maybe find
make something new.
somebody, pick up an instrument, talk
Don't
to
use
people
AI.
who want to do this kind of thing. Because I mean, Mike will tell you he was not a bassist, but knew he wanted to be in a metal band and went and learned bass, and
yeah.
now he
That's all
really
it
loves what
takes.
he does.
That's how it went.
I never screamed in my entire life until I was 40. How old was I? About 44 when I joined the band.
Yeah, you were
44, the
apparently
first
brand
time.
new.
Yeah,
43, yeah.
brand new at this at 44, and it's completely changed my life. I think that
Yeah,
music is undervalued, and now I really do believe that. I think that music is undervalued as a fix for mental fatigue for sure.
I
Creation
think
in
art in
general.
general is. I think
Yeah,
art in general was like I've always wondered what is it about art that speaks to us on such a deep level, right? As old as you can find, as far as you can go back, people have been making art, profound things. There has to be something deeply human about it that we require, even if we can't quite put a finger on it. And I also think it's like connection to both your inner self and to the community around you. Yeah, so it's also for that reason probably that it can help to fix any issues that you feel in those two directions. It's a bridge between those worlds, I feel.
yeah. And so, I for one am happy that you're doing better, dude.
Thank you.
Really
You know what?
happy.
I am
Happy
myself
you.
as well.
Great.
I am myself as well. I'm not there yet, but it's going a lot better than when I posted that message a couple of months ago. I don't even know when that was. That says enough, right? So yeah.
It was a while
But
back. It was a while back. But I think, like I said, I think we can all wait. I would rather wait. Like the last album you put out, I have not quit playing that thing because it is just such a progression from the last album, and it's a brilliant piece of work.
uh,
If it takes you 20 years to put out the next one, as long as it's as good
yeah,
as the album, I'm fine with it.
that's what I'm telling myself now too. Like it's fine. And by the way, what you said, I think you are speaking for a very large part of that community, because the responses I had to, for the people who don't know, I posted a message a couple of months back that basically said that I'm going on a hiatus because of the whole depression and stuff. And the responses that I received, both in public and in private, were absolutely amazing, unbelievably helpful, thoughtful, full of heart. People that straight up just like directly, indirectly try to help. Religious, non-religious people, doesn't matter. They all exist, and it's amazing. I've been absolutely shocked in a positive way by that, and I'm forever grateful for that. I don't know what else to say about it. So, of course, I had the luck of being able to speak in public, and then there'll be multiple people receiving that. That's the luck that not everyone has. But I do believe that other people, if they speak out these troubles, will find someone that can connect to them and will hopefully reach out like that.
Yeah, there's always somebody that's willing to help. That's the thing. And then for everybody else that notices it, it's always better to reach out than not to reach out, you know? It's a really easy, quick thing to write an email. Most people are just on their phones all day, fucking doom scrolling anyway, dude. Send a message. Ask people how they're doing. It might be the difference in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to say it, but you know what
By
I
the
mean.
way, Matt did that to me, just so you know. So he's not just preaching it; he's he's doing what he says. So thanks for that, by the way, dude. That's
Yeah,
really
dude,
cool.
no problem. Absolutely. So, is there anything else you want to say about Shylmagoghnar or anything that I honestly don't know if you have anything to tease or anything like that, but if there's anything that you want to put out, feel free to. And then we'll rip into this beautiful beast of a film that we've
I
chosen
think
to do.
it's time to dissect this absolute fever dream of a movie.
Yeah.
Okay. As I said when we first started this podcast, there were certain people I wanted to have on to do certain movies. Me and Mike will do most of these films on our own, but for ones that other people are really passionate about, we want to get them in, and we want to specifically get metal musicians in because I think there's a great deal of horror that influences specifically heavy metal, and I don't think that's any secret. These movies right here, Nim was here for episode 1 that we did of this film series, and we said we were going to do 2 and 3, and then if I can maybe bribe him, maybe he'll do the series with us too.
Oh no, I have to watch that too. God damn. Damn, dude, really putting me in the spot
I've been
here.
waiting on a while because this film is horror for me, and it's it is kind of the embodiment of dark humor in the very, very best way.
You could say that.
It's slapstick horror, right?
And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of it is intentional, but I think a lot of it there's a lot of things going on psychologically that also make it that way, and that's why it makes this film so interesting. But I've been nerding out wanting to do this one for the longest time, and I'm happy to open up season 2 with Nimblkorg. And Mike, what film are we doing?
We're doing Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're in Germany, Tanz der Teufel, I'm not exactly sure why it got that name, but
can't tell you
it's
either.
very
But
interesting to me.
funny thing is, the most Germans nowadays even call it just Evil Dead. They don't even call it by the German title anymore.
Yeah.
All I can say about that is I watched a lot of German TV in the 90s, and almost everything had a second title, and I have no idea why. That was just very typical back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about it on another episode of the podcast too, but the Germans are funny with that, but the Danish are even funnier.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. Yeah.
The Danish will put the actual title of the film and then the other undertitle. If it's a horror film, the undertitle will always be The Blank of Death. Everything.
What?
So if
Okay.
it's Evil Dead, The Cabin of Death. If it's a boat on the water being attacked by sharks, The Boat of Death. Everything is the something of death. Go look it up. It's the craziest fucking thing.
What if it's psychological horror and no one dies?
They'd probably still call it the something of death.
Checkmate.
Probably, yeah.
It's just a really, really lazy way of doing things, and I don't know why the Danes do that. But
I've
I find
never
it
heard that
really
before.
funny.
That's wild.
So before we jump into it, dude, this film, I don't know how it is for Mike. I know Mike's a big fan, and I know you are, but for me, this is kind of like the embodiment of my childhood in terms of horror films go. And it didn't matter how much older I got, this film just stayed interesting. And it stayed interesting because there's not a dull fucking moment in the film. And
That's true.
they're about to get serious, they get more wacky. And it's just so strange. And if you talk about the influences this film had on not just music, but pop culture, video games, it's got its hand in everything.
That's weird, really, how popular it is.
Yeah.
That's true,
So I'm trying to remember the few instances I remember, but there are politicians in the United States that I can't even remember who it was or what the date was or any of that stuff, but they would say something that was outrageous and then they'd be like, give me some sugar, baby, which that's actually Army of Darkness, right?
I was
But
going to say.
this movie and that movie are kind of mixed one-liner gold. You know what I
Or
mean?
they really
Yeah.
are. I think that was it for me as well, about that one-liner thing, right? I think I said before, like, I got into Evil Dead in reverse. I got introduced to it by the things that were inspired by it. And now mainly talking about shooters like Blood and Duke Nukem and all that stuff. And those games were absolutely full of references to that movie. So of course, at some point, I was always interested as a kid to see like, where do these games come from? What are the beta versions like? What are the voice actors like and stuff like that? And of course, then I stumbled across mainly Army of Darkness, I have to say, but if you watch that one, you watch all of them. And it's just crazy. It feels like every single line in that movie has been quoted somewhere. I've never seen anything like it. Even with very big stuff like Star Wars, which is, of course, also quoted a lot, and Lord of the Rings. But I feel like this movie might just be more quoted than Star Wars. It's crazy.
I think it is. There's entire, like you mentioned, Blood, right? That's one that I missed, that video game. I missed playing that for whatever reason. I think it's probably because Quake came out at the same time. And so I was busy playing Quake, but
it's also cool.
They recently did a remaster of it, and I've been playing it now for the last like month. And that game basically is Evil Dead.
It is Evil Dead, exactly.
It's Evil
So
Dead.
when I saw the movie for the first time, I felt very familiar with it. The Deadites are basically the monsters that you meet in that game. And of course, I was relatively young at it. I can't remember how old I was, but definitely not a teenager yet. And it was a very interesting feeling to me that the game was partially kind of scary because it was horror and I was young, but also kind of funny. Like you blasted the cultists into 1,000 bits and you laughed your ass off because it's just really funny, right? Like with the dynamite sticks. And then seeing exactly that in movie shape was like a dream come true for me at that time.
Yeah. It's also that, and then like you already mentioned Duke Nukem, but even before that, Doom
as well,
was specifically a mix between what they wanted to make originally a game about aliens, like the original Alien film and Alien.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get the rights, and they said, okay, what's our second favorite movie? Evil Dead 2. So let's make a mix of what Aliens and Evil Dead 2 would be into a video game, and that's how Doom got made. Doom is probably by far the most famous game that ever existed.
Yeah. I also wonder, like, the chainsaw on Doom, was that a straight reference, or is that more or less just like chainsaws?
Everything in that game, from the shotgun to the chainsaw, everything was Evil Dead. The only difference is you had a silent protagonist who didn't say a damn thing, which is not Ash. Which brings up a good point. So this film, compared to the first film, is not even close to the same thing, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, because this one, I mean, the first film was definitely a horror, but this one specifically goes way more into comedy and just becomes total wacky. Now, what I like about it, that's just how the difference is. I mean, this part, I would say 2 and 3, you cannot see as pure horror anymore. I mean, 2 is where it starts going into comedy. And I have to be honest, when it comes to the Army of Darkness, I love the movie as well.
But it's not really horror anymore, right?
Exactly, Nim. I barely even saw that as a horror movie. I just laughed my ass off the whole time when I saw it the first time.
Yeah,
I feel the same way about it. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I saw Army of Darkness first because when I was a teenager, both Evil Dead and 2 were illegal in Germany. So
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I think when I saw Evil Dead the first time, I was 18, and somehow a friend of mine got it illegally, ripped it onto a videotape at the time. Maybe I was even younger. Huh?
Hey, kids, want to do some Evil Dead?
Yeah. I'm not sure where he got it from, but it was an illegal movie, and you could only get illegal copies from it.
They had those at the video, like what is it called? Like the videotheque is what they call it here.
No, he didn't get it from a videotheque.
But I mean, under the table, not
a friend
officially.
of a friend. It was smuggled. He went. Okay. I think one of his friends. It was even in English because there wasn't a German synchronization for it. He had a friend that went to England and there recorded it onto a videotape and then brought it back over to Germany.
then.
Yeah. At that point, it's kind of like the holy grail of horror films. If you had your hands on that thing at that time, because you got to think there was no digital media; it was just videotapes. You know,
there's really something to be said for something being hard to get. Like if it's hard to get, somehow the value increases. Then when you finally watch it, you're just full of awe. Especially when you watch it as a kid, it's like, whoa, I'm not allowed to see this, so that makes it 10 times as cool.
Yeah. Or if you're American, all you had to do was wait for them to just put it on TV unedited because nobody gave a shit in the States, man. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw this, I think I was like 11, and it just happened to be on the TV at a friend's house. And I was like, what is this crazy shit that you guys are watching? Because I think the part that I caught was the part right when he goes into the shed to get the chainsaw because his girlfriend's head was in a vice grip. And I was like, what the fuck is that? What is
What are
this?
we watching?
Yeah. And since then I was enthralled and I had to go get it and I had to watch it. And then of course I went back and watched the first one and then Army of Darkness after that.
Yeah.
But crazy. If
Yes, it was.
the funny thing is, and I think I brought this up with part one, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are not very quiet about their marijuana use, right? So when they were making the first film, they had no idea what they were doing. They were high and laughing the whole time and trying to remain serious while they made a very dark movie, and that worked. Second film, he was already kind of a filmmaker and less worried about how things looked. So they were just high the whole time, and they were like, "What if we did this?"
That really
then
shows.
did
That
it.
really shows.
And so that's what you get is just a whole lit up film crew that were having high ideas about what would be funny and gory at the same time. And it works brilliant.
Sometimes you see something. And now I'm not just thinking of things like Evil Dead 2, but I'm also thinking of, remember those shorts on MTV in the 90s? There were these
Liquid
just a couple of
television.
seconds between liquid, yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff, I just always imagine, how the hell do you come up with this? Every single frame is just a different universe. Like, well, the answer is obvious in this case, but
It's
I do think
obvious.
it is very enjoyable to watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. The level of slapstick in this film is definitely not needed, but it works so well. Like somebody said that I can't remember who it was. Buddy and me were having a conversation. But if you took all of the funny out of this film and just made it a horror film and just made everything super serious, I'm not sure it would work.
No, it doesn't take itself serious, and
No.
that's its biggest strength. And then when something actually does become serious, that makes it much cooler because the contrast is so high. So I have to admit about this film, when I saw Evil Dead the first time, it was not the first movie that I saw, right? I can't remember if it was Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 1 that I saw first. When I saw Evil Dead 2 the first time, the first 20 minutes or so, I did not like. I was really confused about what was going on. Like the style felt so, it was almost like it was mimicking itself, as if it was pretending to be itself, but it was obviously not. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at first I thought, oh no, they're fucking it up. They've ruined the formula, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, I can't remember what happened, but there's some scene that happens then around that point that instantly becomes so awesome that it clicked with me. And I was, now I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And from there on out, I was in love with the movie. So it's really it needed a moment for me.
Yeah, it's like they took the gold of part one and then just made fun of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the funny
Because that
thing is,
intro is just so cheesy, right?
they didn't even bother to make a part two of the original movie. And there's a few reasons for that, right? So when you open up on the film, and the common misconception here, and even among like horror fans are like, yeah, but Evil Dead 2 is just Ash goes back to the cabin and it's so stupid. Why would he do that? Right. Well, the answer is he didn't go back to the cabin. They're retelling the story of the first one as much as they could because they didn't have the rights to the first film.
No fucking way, dude. I didn't know that.
Yes.
That explains why it's so weird. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
It really feels like a different movie trying to beat Evil Dead for the first couple minutes.
Yeah,
It
well,
does.
actually, if you say,
Go ahead,
if
Mike.
you say like, why did he go back to the cabin? He never really left the cabin.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't get out of there.
But you can see why this would be like a really big point of contention for anybody who was a fan of the first film. Because if you watch the second one and you're supposed to watch it as a continuation of the first, it makes absolutely no sense in continuity whatsoever.
No,
I think
no,
none of the movies really do in that regard. Like, you could, of course, say that there is a link between the second and the third movie, but that's also
it's
thinly
real
veiled,
iffy.
I would say. It's just three different movies, and they kind of click together because of Ash.
Yeah, right. Thankfully, and I think it's been canonized now that it's a deep hole to go into, but they kind of fix the continuity with the series, right?
That's always fun to see in retrospect, but I really doubt they had that in mind when they originally went for
No,
it.
they definitely didn't. But it's kind of like Star Wars, right? That was never meant to be 3 films. That was just meant to be one. And they were like, oh, we did really well with this. Now we had to figure out how this goes on. So it kind of retcons stuff that happened in the past. This one does the same thing. And it is by far probably I don't know of any other film series where continuity is this bad. Maybe X-Men, where the continuity is this bad, but the continuity is truly bad. And it's because they did not have the rights for Evil Dead 1. So they couldn't take snippets from that film to put in this one to retell the story. And they did not have the budget to retell the story the way that it was retold in the first one. So they were like, let's just make Ash and his girlfriend go to the cabin. And, you know, all those other people that died that made the first movie great, that just didn't happen. And so that's what you get.
You can't get sued about making a horror movie about two people going to a cabin.
Yeah.
That's just so common at this point.
No. And what's even worse is when they went to Army of Darkness, they didn't have the rights to Evil Dead 2. So the only...
What were they doing?
They didn't. So they had to refilm the first parts of the story to retell what happened in Evil Dead 2 for Army of Darkness. So if you go back and watch Army of Darkness, you realize that the first whole part of the film where they're retelling Evil Dead 2 is all refilmed in a different
way. I noticed that, but I thought they did a good... Is it that where they do the hand thing where you see like the veins popping over the hands?
Yeah, they use little snippets.
That was really cool, actually.
Yeah, only the parts that they were allowed to use. The rest of it had to be refilmed, and it just the continuity is all over the place. But it doesn't matter. I just want to fix that whole continuity era where everybody's like, yeah, he went back to the cabin. No, Ash did not go back to the cabin. Ash has been at the cabin the whole time. If you want a really easy way to explain it away, this movie right here is Ash slowly losing his fucking mind.
Yeah,
and nothing
that sums
makes
it up.
any sense.
That sums it up. Yeah.
The whole film feels like a fever dream. It does from start to finish. You get the opening when they're driving back or going to the cabin. The events of the first film happen in what feels like 30 seconds. What they show you.
Yeah.
He beheads his girlfriend, buries the body, and then beheads his girlfriend, buries the body, and then that's kind of where it picks up, where you see the Force kind of come towards him, pick him up, and start throwing him through trees. That's where Evil Dead 1 ended, and this is where Evil Dead 2 picks up. The tone from here on out is just goofy. That's the only way to explain it. Every time you see Ash doing something, every time he says something, every time you see his face, he's being ridiculous.
I'm just seeing it in front of me right now.
Yeah. I think the thing that I like the most and the biggest hint that this was going to be something completely different was when he ends up face first in the mud puddle. And then it feels like he's in there all day, right? Like his body's just laying in the woods in this puddle. And then his face comes out of it and he's got this dead-eyed face, right? So it's the first time we get to see Ash actually possessed. Yeah.
About
Possession?
that, I always wondered that part where he's a dead-eyed, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he the only one that truly snaps out of being a dead-eyed? The other ones, of course, pretending to not be dead-eyed, but he actually snaps out of it. I don't think anyone else manages to do that. Is there a reason for that except for plot armor? Or
it's plot armor, and it was thrown out with Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness. So what happens is he comes out of the mud puddle, and he's about to get up, and then he realizes the sun is coming up. And the Deadite doesn't like the sun, so it tries to cover its face, and then it leaves him. And what he says after that is, it doesn't like the light, right? That's never revisited ever again.
Yeah, I noticed that. It felt like a very obvious weapon that is just ignored from that point.
Yeah, just completely ignored. And it's not the first time he, turns into a Deadite in this film either. Like
he does it multiple times, I think.
Yeah, multiple times comes back. The other 2 times he's able to snap out of it or when he finds his girlfriend's necklace on the ground after she's dead. The sadness of that snaps him out of it, which that's interesting. You can make a Deadite sad and they'll leave.
There was a whole cut story about that necklace, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if this was 1 or 2, but the necklace was supposed to be important for some reason, and they just kind of left it out, and it's still in there, but it's just like a prop now. It used to be something more than that, if I recall correctly.
They bring it up in the series, which the series the series was good. It was good. It was a little disjointed, but no disjoint, more disjointed.
I haven't seen it at all. So.
But the necklace comes back in the series, and it turns out it does have this strange power. So you could say that the necklace itself did it. It's whatever you want to believe. It's Evil Dead. Everything here is left up to the viewer to try to figure out what's going on. And most of the time, it doesn't make any sense. I will say this film, Ash gets his ass kicked so badly during this film. This guy would have been a paraplegic 20 minutes into the movie, right? because he comes out of the mud puddle, immediately jumps in his car and heads for the bridge. He gets to the bridge is out, just like it is in the first movie.
Mm.
They're just retelling that story again. Bridge is out, and you get this really cool scene of the sun really going down really fast behind him, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's the scene you usually see cut into previews, is that part right there, just because it's like visually shocking.
Mm.
The way they filmed this film, the tricks that they used, how they created the special effects is just as ingenious as part one, because it is just thrown together,
I
right?
think that's generally a Sam Raimi thing, right? He tends to be
Yeah.
pretty creative with those kinds of stuff. One of the effects that works way better than I would imagine they worked, and I never even knew what was going on. I just noticed that something was jarring about it. Is the whole reverse thing that he does a lot. He takes reverse takes. But even if someone's just standing still, sometimes there's a reverse take, and it has a very uncanny valley vibe to it, which I think is absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
I don't really
Yeah.
see that being used by anyone else, and I don't know why. Because it's such a strong effect, it should be everywhere, really.
So that's one of those things that was remarked on by, I forget what's the movie, Antonio Banderas. He plays an Arab that ends up with Vikings.
The 13th Warrior.
The 13th
yeah, that-
Warrior.
Not a great movie, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Good
a great movie, but
Oh, that's,
visually
I think like
striking. Visually striking. There were a lot of scenes where they did exactly that. They reversed the film to give it a certain look, and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are credited in that film because of that effect.
I never noticed it in that.
Yeah.
What I found mostly striking about that movie was the speech at the end.
Yeah.
Like that one was just fucking great, dude.
It's a great movie, but it's got
Oh, it got me goosebumps at that moment. I have to admit. That was good.
yeah. Specifically, if you want an example of how they did that in that film, there's a scene where Antonio Banderas is really hardened from battle, like he feels like he's about to fall over, and the camera pans in front of his face from one side to the other. And it's
Yeah.
a scene that you see in the previews all the time, and that was completely shot backwards, and everybody was like, "How did you get that effect?" And he was like, "Oh, "You just
Interesting.
did what they did in Evil Dead 2."
Well, there you go.
So it works, and Bruce Campbell's the king of being able to do things backwards and make it look right. The guy's incredible. Anyway, so he gets back in the car and starts heading straight back to the cabin, and he's being chased by the force behind him, right? He runs headfirst into this gigantic tree stump, which immediately throws him from the car. Keep in mind, this car is going probably 45 miles an hour through the woods, right?
Yeah.
Headfirst out the window and then smack onto his neck onto the ground. And you think the dude's dead because this would have killed anybody, right? So the first part where he should have been dead and wasn't, but gets right back up and starts running into the cabin, chased by this thing, slams the door, hides inside the cabin. Keep in mind, while we're talking about continuity errors, the car wrecked way back in the woods, probably 3 miles away from the front of the house. Next scene, you see the car is sitting in front of the house. So
I never noticed that.
yeah. So,
I've always been really bad at spotting that kind of stuff, by the way. Like, you can just have a different
can't
shot in
help
every
it.
shot, and I wouldn't notice it.
I can't help it, but it never takes me out of the film because I think the film is just wacky. And the way that I explain my head canon for this, kind of like I said before, is that Ash is losing his fucking mind.
Yeah, I don't
Even
think...
the sound effects and the music that they use is very like kind of off and kind of feels like something you'd hear in a fever dream is the only way that I could explain it.
I also imagine, like, maybe he sat down in the car, then he was hit by this fever dream, but that might still be induced by the deadites, not just something that's happening to him. And then he gets out of the car, maybe in a let's not do that way, because he just saw what could possibly happen, like a night terror or something like that.
It's also arguable if any of this stuff is actually happening.
Yeah,
is the other
that's
thing,
true.
right? Because a lot of this stuff could be happening in his head. The guy just did go through a lot of trauma. So if you want to go the route of all of his friends and his sister and his girlfriend was just killed, the guy's not in his right mind. So I would assume most of the stuff is not actually happening. This is just all
It might be,
in his head.
Uh,
And there's a scene that alludes to that too. And it's kind of one of those, if you blink, you'll miss it kind of things, right? But this whole next scene, they show Annie and her friend who is working with her father, who's a professor, Raymond Noby, on unearthing the pages of the book and translating them. And they're getting off a plane to come to the cabin because they think right now that's where her father is at this cabin, right? Unbeknownst to them, he's dead. Everybody's there is dead except for Ash. Ash is now walking around being confronted with his fucked up mind. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the film because he's just stumbling around the cabin and the cabin is fucking with him the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
The favorite scene of the movie, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy fucking sounds everywhere. Every door he opens, there's something behind it that's fucked up. His own reflection attacks him, which is a great scene.
Mhm.
And really does feel like a fever dream to me. Like
Also in
that
Blood, by the
scene
way.
right there. That scene right there, I was like, this is a fever dream. As to
That's
be.
the thing. It's so consistent that even if it is a fever dream, at what point does he snap out of it? That's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if it's
Yeah.
a fever dream, he's still in it in Army of Darkness,
Yeah. Yeah.
which might
And
be
he-
true. I don't know.
There's he kind of gets to where he gets woozy in the head. There's a scene here, and it's right after the piano starts playing on its own. He pulls out
Yeah.
like the necklace, looks at it, and then thinks, okay, maybe I'm just imagining all this. I just need to get out of here. And that's when the boards on the window snap off and he realizes something is outside, right?
Yeah.
And this is the girlfriend scene that I feel is probably one of the best examples of why this is probably a fever dream because none of this looks real at all. This was a choice. This was a choice to do
Yeah.
this way. And it's not that it's done badly. It's just that this is the time where everything was done with stop motion. There was no CGI. So you get the girlfriend rising out of the grave. She looks like a plastic puppet is the only
Yeah.
way to describe it. But because of the way the film is filmed and the fact that it doesn't take itself seriously, I'm not bothered by it at all.
It's like usually you have to deal with suspense of disbelief, but I feel like they take a different approach. They just take the approach of, we don't take ourselves seriously, so you shouldn't either, so we don't have to explain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it works.
Yeah,
It
does.
works. So not bad stop motion at all. Like I think it actually works. It's just very zany looking. He disappears in the woods. He wonders if he just imagined it and then she pops up in front of the window right in front of him.
There was always something about that kind of stop motion in those years that I really liked. Like, in a way, because it looks so unnatural, that kind of makes it more frightening to me. Maybe not in this case. I mean, she wasn't really frightening. She was just being weird in these scenes. But I do think there's a certain charm to these very choppy and very unnatural movements of characters.
Yeah. I think you guys remember Willow, right? The
Mm,
movie
yeah.
Willow. So the dragon that gets mutated out of a troll that attacks them at that castle, that is all
Yeah.
stop motion as well. And I think the fact that was stop motion made it terrifying.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So, I mean, there's something to be said for it. I think it works, especially back
RoboCop
then.
had a couple of them as well. Like the bad robots in the first RoboCop, they also looked pretty frightening to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very unnatural.
Yeah, as a kid, especially, that kind of stuff really got to you.
Yep. The way that they make it work, especially with this scene, is that it's not always stop motion. So there's a lot of actual like human actors standing in for certain parts of it. So it cuts back and forth from that, and it works really, really well. Plus, the makeup that they use on the girlfriend when you see the close-ups of her is fantastic.
True.
Their makeup artist for this film is great. So this is your other clue as to the fact that this might all be in Ash's head. After she slams his head against the window the few times, he snaps out of it screaming in this chair. And I love this scene because he's like sitting in the rocking chair in the cabin, screaming at the top of his lungs, and then he realizes nothing's happened. He's just been sitting there the whole time.
It's like you said, he's being fucked with. It's on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
He even says, huh, it was just a dream. It was just a dream. And at that point, his girlfriend's head falls from the ceiling into his lap. And I love it because,
Imagine the script for this film.
yeah, dude, it's you have to wonder how much of it was actually
mean,
just done
was
on
there
the
a
fly
script?
and how much of it
Has
was
to
written
be,
down.
right? Like, if you would read that, would you be like, oh yeah, that sounds fine. That sounds reasonable. Let's do that.
No, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. We're not doing
That's
that.
stupid. Like,
But it
I
works.
have to,
I think
like,
it's just the fact that they threw all these ideas into a hat, and there was a little bit of talk by Rob Taper because it was always him and Sam Raimi and Bruce.
yeah, obviously.
And
Yeah.
they said, what we did was we said, okay, what's the best way for this particular scene to come out or that particular scene to come out? and they would write the most ridiculous things they could on cards, throw them in a hat, and somebody would pull a card out, and that's what they did. So
I'm not surprised at all with that.
yeah,
That fits.
Okay.
You know what?
and
What I
maybe
really
that's
find
why it works so well.
what I think is so admirable about these movies is when we're talking about them, it feels like we're making fun of them, but they're just that ridiculous. Then why does it still feel like a good movie? I can't think of another movie that pulls this off. It shouldn't be
not.
as good as it is, I guess.
I think probably because it's intentional. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they went into this movie when they were making it, pretty much just like Matt said. We're all gonna get super high, then we're gonna make a horror movie, and we're gonna throw all of ideas into a hat and pick them out randomly. I do think one of the reasons why it works is because it's intentional. I mean, that's my opinion about it. I would say if something is supposed to be really insanely stupid and it's meant to be that way, that's cool. But if it's not intentional, that's just when, in my opinion, it doesn't work.
But the thing about humor is also that it can age very poorly. I've watched some
True.
different like funny movies and stuff from that age, and some of them really did not hold up at all. But one that I still like, for example, was the Airplane series. Like Leslie Nielsen is just amazing. Dude. He's so fucking good, right? Like for
That's one
some
of my
reason,
favorite comedies, dude.
whenever he opens his mouth, I still laugh my ass off. But other movies of that age just don't work for me anymore. I can't
Yeah,
put my
no.
finger on.
I just want you to know we're all counting on you.
That's exactly what was going through my mind right now.
Picked a bad
Good
day to
luck.
quit doing cocaine. Airplane's a classic example of that. I think there's
Fucking great, dude.
movies like Naked Gun and Airplane that go out of their way to be as slapstick as possible, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that works. But to do that with horror is difficult, right?
Mhm, it is.
Because horror is dark, it's gory, it's meant to be scary. So the minute you
Yeah.
add humor to that, it takes away from the scary factor. So, like Nim said, for a movie to have been done this way and still be as popular as it is, because it is
Yeah.
arguably probably one of the most popular horror films of all time. The fact that it worked and it stayed the test of time and didn't age badly is amazing.
Mhm.
That's true.
And the other thing is, it's also very risque. A lot of the things, like Ash's attitude towards things in
Yeah.
this movie and Army of Darkness, are very curmudgeon,
Mhm.
borderline, maybe a little bit racist sometimes. Like,
Yeah, I
even
mean,
in the
he's kind of an
series.
asshole in the movie. to
He's
be
an ass.
honest.
He's not a great guy. He's just not
No.
a great guy.
No.
He's not. And that's the thing that can age badly so easily. Like, I have to think of Duke Nukem, for example, obviously inspired by this character. Duke Nukem also, like, total piece of shit, total arrogant bastard, pulls it off somehow in the game, right? But that
Yeah.
has something to do with when it came out. And then they did I don't even know when anymore, but the later Duke Nukem that came out tried to do the same. And it was not good,
Horrendous.
dude. It was not good. It was horrendous. It
Yeah.
felt off in every single way. And I really was trying to figure out, like, why did it work at first, but now it doesn't work anymore? Is it the day that it came out? Is it the year? Is it, I don't know.
Good question.
Things like that just change
Oh,
over time.
Yeah.
I think if you try, it's almost like the lightning in the bottle thing, right?
Yeah.
And this is something we worry about with music too. Like, if it works
Obviously.
really well this time, if we do it again, is it gonna still have the same effect?
Yeah.
This was one of those instances where they had lightning in a bottle and they realized it worked and they did it again and it worked again. Whereas Duke Nukem was parodying this thing and they tried to do it again, and it was almost like it was taking itself too seriously, trying to be
Yeah.
funny.
It doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't
Like, to
work.
this day, with many things like that, whenever I see people nowadays saying, like, what's next for this? What are they going to do with this IP? I have to admit, I don't think it's a good idea to milk everything to the point. Like, it's been done. It was fine. Why does there always have to be a second and a third and a fourth? Yeah, obviously, of course.
Money.
But it surprises me that people don't see that. It surprises me that people don't realize what they're asking for is basically for their favorite thing to become milked to the point where it's just sad. Like, why would you want that?
Yeah.
Be happy that you had that at the first place, to be honest.
Because you have people that still like it, and because it is a sacred IP. And me and Mike go on about this shit on this podcast all the time. But if you have a sacred IP, it's a moneymaker. And so
Obviously, yeah.
even if your core fans hate it, what you're doing to it, Star Wars, best example. If your core fans hate what you're doing to it, it doesn't matter because they're still going to go see it.
Yeah.
So it might not work, but you still made your money. That's why that stuff is allowed to continue, right?
Sad but true, yeah.
It's the same thing with video games, is like you said. There's some things that it doesn't need a sequel. It was perfect the way it was.
Or maybe it does need a sequel, but you already know that they're going to blow it. Like, let's say the Elder Scrolls, for example. Like, it's such a popular series. I honestly feel like somehow it just becomes worse and worse with everything they do. And not just that series. Everything they do right now just becomes worse. And still people are cheering for, what's it called? Elder Scrolls 6, I think.
Yeah.
I forgot what number we are at right now.
It's 6.
Like,
It's 6.
Do you think it's going to be good? Like, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Where's the proof in the pudding, right? I want it to be good, but it won't.
I know Mike's got something to say about that. That's why I'm being quiet.
What? Elder Scrolls?
Go on a tangent, Mike.
I mean, I only played Skyrim and Oblivion, to be honest, so I can't say about the previous games. I like Skyrim. Skyrim was a great game. I thought Oblivion was great too. Yeah. But I haven't played the others, so I can't say much about that.
Yeah.
But Elder Scrolls 6, who knows how it's going to be. I mean, the company, it's not, that'll be another discussion, but Bethesda, the company that makes Elder Scrolls, they haven't made any good games since Skyrim, since 2012. The other thing they've been doing is been releasing Skyrim again and again and again and again and again. Of course it works, so... And who knows, when it comes to Elder Scrolls 6, who knows when it's going to come out, probably in 10 years or so.
Yeah, it's like you said, like basically they now have like a 14-year track record of disappointment. So why would you give them the benefit of the doubt at any point? Like they have to prove themselves now.
Exactly.
I don't understand just in general, whether it's movies or video games or music, why there's such a lack of new creativity and new ideas. I think that's the thing that I struggle with. If I really like an IP or I really like something, of course I'd like to see more of it, but I would like to see it done tastefully. But what I would like to see more than that is something new and interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a certain huge lack of that.
I think there's like a technological saturation at some point whenever there's a new technology. Let's say the whole computer evolution of the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Then that opens up new possibilities and new ideas arise as if from nowhere. And then think of like when it comes to video games, think of, let's say 1993 to 1996, 97, there was so insanely much inspiration back then and innovation. You got things from Doom to Command & Conquer to Tomb Raider, all going in completely different directions, and it was all fantastic. But at some point, I think there's maybe a certain cap on what you can do with that technology, and then they just keep building upon that until what is it called, like a game changer, like something that completely changes the paradigm of the technology. And when that happens, new innovation will come. Same happens in music, like when synthesizers were becoming a thing. You had all these cool synthesizer acts, drawing blanks here right now, sorry.
No, it's okay.
But all kinds of new stuff comes out when new technology comes out. And one of my favorites, Jean-Michel Jarre, also said that he believes that music comes from technology and not the other way around, because the technology is always the starting platform for new ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the case for movies and for games as well. And obviously you also have the problem with investors. Movies cost so insanely much money to make that unless you find someone to toss you a couple $100 million, you're not going to make a blockbuster. And what do people want that toss $100 million? Assurance that they will get that back twofold, right?
Yeah.
So they make the same crap over and over again.
You know, then again, history has kind of shown over and over again, specifically with movies and video games, that you don't need a AAA budget, and you don't need,
obviously,
you know, all these investors to make something work. Sometimes I think this movie's a great example, and there's a video game that's new that's a great example of this. Sometimes when you have to work with less, you get a better product. Right?
Yeah,
that's the case. That's the case. But there's also survivorship bias, right? Because what about all the other ones that had a great idea but didn't get there because they just got drowned out? I think, of course, a quality product is a quality product, but there is a luck factor of getting through to people. And for all the games and videos and music we've seen that were amazing despite having no budget, there's probably 100,000 that didn't make it. And
yeah,
that's also the sad reality of things, I feel.
Yeah, and usually those end up becoming cult classics, you know? I mean, whether it's a movie or a video game, there
Mm.
was a certain group of people who did play it and loved it, and you always hear about it, but then you may have never played it because you never saw the advertisement and you weren't around those
Yeah.
people who
Exactly.
really
yeah.
were passionate about that game and you just missed it. So a lot of it is how much money you put into advertisement as well, you know?
I have a good example of that. The game FTL. A friend of mine really had to push me to try that game. I saw it, like, it looks very basic, and I didn't know what it was. Like, I don't really care for graphics, but it just didn't grab me. But a friend of mine just straight up went like, okay, dude, you're going to sit on the couch. I'm going to play that game now. I'm going to prove to you that this is the best shit ever, right? And he
Okay.
did. And you know what? For the 2 or 3 or 4 weeks that came after that, I was absolutely hooked to that game. So sometimes you just have to have that friend that sits you down and says, you're going to watch this movie right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe if we took the advice of the people that we knew and like cared about their opinion more than what's being advertised, we'd probably see stuff that was more
Word of
interesting.
mouth is the most important way of advertisement, but you have to have someone who's really passionate about it, or else they won't do that.
Matt, I'm just probably gonna have to cut out a few minutes here.
Yeah, that's
Just
fine,
want to
dude.
say it's past 9 o'clock, and I'm gonna have to leave the session now.
That's why I called it out.
don't
I
worry, I
saw
mean,
you
just like
go
we said,
like,
Matt's
how long
gonna,
are they going to
gonna
talk
jump
about this?
You guys can just continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry. It was
Okay,
great
Mike.
to see, it was great to see
No,
you
it's
again,
fine.
man,
It's fine.
and it was really
Same with you, dude.
yeah, glad to have you on the show. And
Thank you.
I can't wait for the next time for Army of Darkness.
Exactly. Like, it's always a pleasure and always fun to see you. Have a great night.
Yeah. I wish the same for you too.
All right,
Okay.
Mike, sleep tight.
Thanks. Bye,
dude.
guys.
See ya.
Well, that tends to happen to us, though.
And we are back. We took a short break after Mike took off, and we went on a few tangents. I mean, if you're watching a podcast where you have metal musicians and metal nerds that are also horror nerds talking about stuff, there's going to be tangents. So sorry, not sorry. Evil Dead 2, the part that we kind of went out and elaborated on was the whole insanity of how things happened. Like, so we stopped with Ash ending up in a chair screaming when he thought that he was doing something else completely, having a fight with his dead girlfriend. Kind of sat there in the chair and was like, it was just a dream. And her head falls in his lap, right? Kind of talked about the fact that this is one of those things where they made it up on a whim. It's kind of like, how are we going to make this work? Let's just drop the head in his lap. And that's what they did. Brilliant stuff. This is some of the stuff this movie's like remembered for.
Yeah.
But that doesn't prepare you for like the insanity that ensues right after this, because it's not like the head drops on his lap and that's the end of it. It bites him in the hand. And then you get this full round the cabin, smashing in windows, bumping against walls. Like he's got the head on his hand and he's just trying to get it off. I think he like grabs a book off the shelf at one point and starts bashing the head with it, trying to get the head off his hand.
That's really it's a recurring theme in general. And I think all of the Evil Deads, that there's like a certain form of possession is a recurring theme. Like sometimes they're straight up possessed, sometimes it's something they're trying to get rid of, and there's usually a lot of actors getting hurt involved in that process.
Oh yeah, dude. This guy Bruce Campbell was injured multiple times during this film. Like it's still talked about today every time he does an interview about like all the different injuries he had from this film and the first one. But as far as the possession goes, we saw this exact same thing happen in the first one with Linda, his girlfriend.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So she got stabbed in the ankle with a pencil, and that wound started to fester, and you had kind of like the stop motion lines coming out of the wound, kind of spider webbed around the body, and then all of a sudden she was possessed. We get the same thing here with Ash, but not before he runs out to the work shed, which that's like one of the most famous quotes from this movie is work shed, because he just says one word and then heads out to the work shed, opens it up. Quick note, there's a Freddy glove hanging on the wall.
Well, I was just going to say that, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references in between those movies. I think the other movie references this one, right?
In Nightmare on Elm Street too. That's why.
It's really cool, actually. And
Yeah.
Gourds, for some reason. Like, I don't know what's up with
What's
the
up
Gourds.
with that?
I think he just likes them, but it's never really explained why.
It was
Maybe
in
a
the
childhood
first
memory.
movie too. The whole basement's got gourds hanging from the ceiling.
Maybe it's just a childhood memory. Maybe he had stuff like that in his basement as a kid. And as a kid, you just, when you're in a basement or if you're in an attic, you see all these objects, you don't really know what to do with them. They all just look mysterious and kind of weird to you. So
Yep.
if it's never explained to you what it means, that just makes it even more weird. So I can see how like certain tools being on the walls that you don't know what to do with, or
Yeah.
gourds hanging from strings, that could
Yeah.
probably leave a lasting impression on a kid. And that's all I can make of it. I don't know if it ever was asked why he likes them, but that's what I made of it, at least.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff, dude. Like this work shed, and then the basement of the actual cabin. There's stuff all over the fucking walls. And I remember watching it with my mom, which we always made fun of my mom because we kind of live in an old house, and there's like old farm equipment hanging on wooden
Yeah,
walls going up
perfect.
the stairs and stuff. And do you know what Cracker Barrel is?
No.
Okay, so Cracker Barrel is a United States restaurant, and when you walk in, there's got wooden walls all the way around it, and there's like farm equipment and utensils hanging from the walls.
Very
And we
classic
always
stuff.
Yeah, like, Mom, your house looks like Cracker
Cracker
Barrel.
Barrel.
And she hates that. And so when we were watching the movie, I was like, Mom, the cabin kind of looks like your house.
Suddenly it's not so bad.
It's not so bad to be Cracker Barrel, right? Yeah. Anyway, he goes with the head attached to his hand into the work shed, puts her head in the vice grip, and the writing here is fantastic because the whole time that he's got her head in the vice grip, he's furious because his hand is now all fucked up because she bit it up.
Yep.
And she's insulting him the entire time. She's insulting him, she's calling him names, and then she says things like, yeah, your darling Linda's soul is in hell right now. She burns in torment. So he's furious, right? And is just trying to find a way to shut this fucking head up, dude. So he sees like up top, there's kind of like a blanket covering something. So he pulls it to the side. There's supposed to be a chainsaw there. And this is ridiculous, but there's like a chalk outline of where the chainsaw was.
Of course,
as if
there would be.
somebody would put a chalk outline around the chainsaw. What is that, dude? Did you notice that?
Maybe like I can imagine stuff like that, but not for a chainsaw. I know that some people, I mean, many people actually like to have a way to organize their tools, and when you use a tool, put it back afterwards, and this way you will see when something's missing. But I think you could use that for a screwdriver, not a chainsaw.
No.
I think you will notice when a chainsaw is gone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I was like, okay, maybe it is an organizational thing. Whatever. I never got it. I kind of associated it with like if there was a body laying on the ground at one point
Yeah, maybe.
and people removed it, there's always a chalk outline about where the body was. I thought there was some joke there about that.
It's like some
Maybe
kind of premonition of what's about to happen, maybe.
Right. Anyway, chainsaw is not there, and he's like, "Where's the chainsaw?" All of a sudden, the door behind him busts open, and it's the torso of his girlfriend
That
with
was
this
doors.
home light chainsaw coming at him. And
Yep.
I remember this scene specifically was the one that I saw the first time I saw the film on TV, and this is what made me want to watch it because this
Yep.
is bloody,
That's awesome.
disgusting, gory, right?
To me, it was scenes like that which made this movie stand out over others. Like, I should add, despite being a horror fan, despite being a fan, I was never that caught by regular slasher movies because a regular slasher movie to me is very two-dimensional. Like it's just someone chasing you with a knife or something that is knife-shaped, and I feel like there's something that can be
Something
missing
pointy.
there. Yeah, exactly. It's like I get the entire nightmarish feeling of being chased by something immortal. That is cool, but it needs something extra for me. And this kind of does that in an unexpected way. Like it's the girlfriend, but not the girlfriend. It's just the torso of the girlfriend, not the head. That one somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just thought that's creative. Like it's
And
puts it in a
how
different
fucked
spot.
up. You know what I mean? Were you ever one of those people that when you watch a horror movie or any movie and things are getting really nuts, do you ever put yourself in the situation and be like, man, what the fuck would I be thinking at this
All
point?
the time. Like I honestly think some of those things that happen in that movie are so ridiculous that I probably would still laugh at in real life because it's just like someone has to be fucking with me right now, right? That feeling, right? It's so absurd, and I actually kind of get that Ash has a lot of those moments, right, where he's almost like smiling all weirdly, and I could see that happening. Like at some point, you just know, like, dude, I've gone off my, I've gone insane. I must be insane. This cannot possibly be happening. Right?
It made complete sense to me. That scene specifically that you're talking about, where he just loses it and starts laughing with everything in the room.
Exactly, of course.
That
Like,
is
what else would you
exactly
do?
what I would have done. Because there's no way this can be happening. Right?
Exactly. And if it is, like, what else are you gonna do? Like, if something torments you like that, you're not going to cry because that makes you even more of a victim in that moment.
Mhm.
Like, at least you're leaning into it at this point.
Yeah, and we also they kind of established that Ash is not really the sharpest tool in the shed. He's not a very bright guy, and
No.
you learn more about that as the story goes on with the next movie. But he's just kind of a numbskull stuck in the most nightmare situation he could possibly be in, and every reaction he has, including this one to the girlfriend's body that's running in with the chainsaw, is probably exactly what anybody else would do, regardless of intelligence. He just grabs the closest thing he can find and starts whacking her with it because he doesn't know how else to get her off of him, right?
I mean, it works.
Grabs a crowbar, hits the chainsaw from underneath. The chainsaw that she's got facing him flips over and ends up in the neck of the body and just starts spitting blood all
That's
over
awesome. That's really
Dude,
awesome.
It's a cool scene.
That was quite the ride to me as a kid, just seeing the insane amounts of blood that these movies have. And I think this one has maybe the most blood of all three of them.
It does.
Well, there's one scene in the third movie that has a ridiculous amount of blood, but I think it's the only one with the gaping
It's
hole.
still not anywhere near
No.
the
Even the
amount
walls
you
are
get.
bleeding in this
No.
one. So to me, that was really like, I think when I first saw that, as well in the movie as in video games at the time, I was really wondering, can you do this? Is this okay? Is this acceptable? I mean, I knew that I loved it. And by the way, a question to you: did you ever have trouble separating this kind of stuff from reality? Because to me, it was very obvious. Like, this is not the same as
Not at all. I mean, I
real
don't think
violence.
I don't think I ever had a problem with that with any horror movie,
No.
but especially
games.
not this one because it's so ridiculous that
Yeah.
it's obviously not.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
also,
none of
like,
it was meant to be taken seriously anyway.
I remember that my parents back in the day really had trouble with. I can understand that, to be honest. Like, we were playing stuff like Doom and we're watching movies like this while we were relatively young, and I can see how they probably did not enjoy that very much. Like, I would feel the same way right now if my kid was watching it probably. And I mean, even though I know it didn't do any harm to me, and I at least didn't have trouble separating that from reality. And of course, so there was the whole debacle back then about the murderers and stuff, and they played Doom and stuff, so the games and the music and the videos got blamed for everything. I never really felt that was fair at all. Like,
It's not fair. It's not fair. I guess, like, study wise, they've looked into all that now. And most people are able to differentiate between what's a game, what's for fun, what's real, and what's not. You know, if anything influences really bad things like that happen, I'm not even going to say bad people. I don't think it's bad people.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's a difficult topic to.
Yeah, it is a difficult topic. It's one that we could like go into for hours, but I feel like as by themselves, video games, movies, anything like this is not dangerous because your average person is able to differentiate what's real from what's just for fun. But in every society now, there's not enough emphasis on mental health and treating that kind of thing. So for a person who is compromised with a certain type of mental health issue, this could be dangerous. Of course.
Yeah, I think so too. It's probably it's the chicken or egg story. When you are in a situation where you have all this build up rage and you just want to, let's say that someone really wants to hurt people or hurt someone, then I can see how they're going to go in every angle they can to do just that, anywhere from real life to games to movies. That doesn't mean that the movie is the cause of the violence. I think it's just one of the many ways that person tries to vent that hatred and that anger. But I mean, it's still a very small minority of people that do that kind of stuff compared to the people who have watched those things, have played those things. And I think we brought this up on the previous episode as well, so it's probably a little bit of
I mean, it's okay because there's a good chance the listeners didn't catch that episode.
That's true, yeah.
Me and Mike have talked about it too, but it's a very dumb thing to blame media for these issues
I think so
that
too.
happen in society. Me and Mike were talking about the fact that there's video games that exist on Steam that even me and him are like, maybe that's a little bit too far. There's some
I
things
think I
that
know
maybe
some of
could
the
make
ones that you
sense.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a little different because the people that are seeking those out are people that already have something.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I think there's always it depends on the air around it. Like you can kind of tell with what intent something is made. And when I think of something like Evil Dead, it's very clearly made because they just thought it was funny. They thought it
Yeah,
was
of
absolutely
course.
hilarious, or they thought it was cool. Same goes for Doom. Just watch those documentaries about the making of Doom. Like every one of those guys behind it just really enjoyed working on that. Like they were into metal, they were into horror, and they were making something brand new that just absolutely kicked ass. So obviously there was no ill intent there.
No.
But there are indeed games and videos that are made with a certain what do you call it? It feels like they want you to enjoy the suffering, and that's different to me. That hits
Right.
different, and when something like that comes along, I pull my hands off of it. I can tell, like, okay, this is something is not right about this. I don't like this, and then I don't
It
want
should
to
feel
watch it.
icky.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel icky,
Yeah.
then maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. The girlfriend with the chainsaw comes busting in, and he just starts whacking her with I don't remember what it was, a crowbar or something.
Yeah. Crowbar, chainsaw goes in the neck, blood goes everywhere.
Yeah.
By the way, did you notice? This is an interesting factoid about this film. Did you notice that when there is a blood spray that hits someone, like when this chainsaw ends up in her neck and it hits Ash in the face, all that blood, did you notice it's black?
Yes, I did, and I seem to remember why, but I can't remember it now. Yeah, there was a reason for it. Yeah.
There's buckets of blood in this movie, but sometimes it's black and sometimes it's green and sometimes it's red.
Yeah, I remember.
The reason
now.
they did that is at this time, they had already gotten a heads up from the censors. Hey, if there's too much blood, we're going to cut it. And so Sam Raimi was like, well, how do we avoid that? Because we don't want to do this without it being tons and tons of blood. And they were like, well, change the color of the blood. If you make it black, we can't say it's blood, and therefore we can't tell you to edit it. So
it's just a ratio thing.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. That's what it was. It was like, if there's this much blood on screen for this amount of time, we have to tell you to edit it. So make it black or make it green, and we can't tell you to edit it. So that's what they did.
And that's funny to me because the horror movies I've seen that had lots of blood probably had the same problem, and they start using stuff like whites and green. Personally, I think that looks much more disgusting than just
It
blood.
is. It is.
Like
It is.
you probably know. I think it's called Dead Alive in the States.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Brain Dead. I mean,
Fuck
that
yeah.
one's just an absolute gore fest, and there's so
You know
much
what?
ooze on the screen. That one is just crazy.
That is by far one of my favorite movies
It's
of all
awesome.
time.
I nearly
Me and
had
Mike
picked
have
that
not
one.
done that yet. And if you want to show up to do that one, then just tell me.
When you asked me what movie do you want to do, I nearly picked that one. I just went with Evil Dead because Evil Dead is iconic, and I felt lucky to get that one. But
Yeah.
I mean, Dead Alive is really something.
It's something. It's really something when you realize who put it out.
Oh
you know?
yeah, it's a minor director you've probably never heard of.
Yeah, no. Peter Jackson,
Peter
small
Jackson.
guy. Small guy.
How did he went from that to Lord of the Rings? Like that's just.
I think
blows
he's a
my
nerd,
mind.
man.
He
I
must
really do.
be.
I think it's guys like him and Benicio, or what's the director's name who did Hellboy? It's Del Toro. I just always forget his first name. But he does a lot of horror movies. The guys are just complete nerds, just like us, but they also love
absolutely.
horror. So obviously the two kind of fit together. I love Lord of the Rings too.
Same,
Absolutely love it.
One of the best movies series
Yes.
ever made, in my opinion. I'm so
Absolutely.
glad it got greenlit, and I think that's also mind blowing to me. Imagine Jackson just walking up to funders asking for the insane amount of money that they must have needed, and of course they're going to say, "Can you show us some of the other work that you've created?" And then you pull out that one.
It's not
I mean,
just that.
I would fund him.
He's done other splatter films too. That one just happens to be the one that's so well known. I think it goes hand in hand. I think people like us love horror, and we also love, nerdy fantasy stuff.
Exactly.
It takes imagination, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I digress. So you get blue, you get black blood in one scene, you get green blood, and you get red blood. And the reason they did that was to avoid the censors. So in this scene, when she gets the chainsaw in the neck, he gets sprayed with black blood. He finally wrestles the thing to the ground, grabs the chainsaw out of its hand, turns to Linda's head, and he's got this look on his face like he's ready to do this. And then her face turns back into original Linda's face.
Because of course,
and she's like begging him not to kill her, which I felt, even for this movie, as ridiculous as it is, was a little bit of a rough thing.
Yeah, it was kind of mean, right? But I mean,
I remember seeing it, and I was like,
I would hope at that point he has to know like this is a trick, even if you care that much about someone. Like, I wonder if that
and
would
he
work.
did. It's just a really cruel thing to do, you know. And it's also something that comes up again and again and again in further installments of this story too.
The acting that you're innocent, and that's also why I asked why it is that that Ash does actually go back to his real self in between the possessions. I think he's the only one that ever happens with that he's truly himself again afterwards.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for that. It's just because it's a movie.
I think so. There was that one where it's the sunlight and blah blah blah, but turns out it's because he's the chosen one.
Yeah, but that's that's the cop out of cop outs.
Yeah, I mean they
That's
introduced it in this film much later in the film, but I don't feel like that was something that they thought of when they were filming the first part of it. I think this movie was made up on the fly. As much as they don't want to admit it, I think most of it was written as they went along.
It feels like that, and I also think that people who watch that sort of movie, they don't truly care if something makes sense or not. Like, of course, you can ask about it, but does it really make a difference whether it's explained or not? Doesn't really matter.
Right. So he obviously cuts up the head. We don't see it. They don't show it on screen. You just see the blood kind of go all over the inside of the work shed. So obviously he carved up the head. We get a scene of him walking out of the cabin. Or walking out of the work shed and then into the cabin. And then he tries to sit back down in the same chair he was sitting in earlier, and it breaks and he hits the ground, right? And, oh, no, wait, I'm screwing that up, dude. I'm screwing that up. This is why I normally have the movie in front of me.
I must admit, like, to me, like, I don't know the movie like second by second as well as you generally do. So I let you do the introducing.
I don't,
I'm playing the film in my head.
I don't know why I skipped ahead to that part. Matt, remember to cut this part. So he comes back in and he notices that his hand is feeling weird. So he looks at it and it changes. It does the same thing that Linda's foot did in the first movie. You get the stop motion spider webs that go down his hand.
Really cool effect.
His hand is possessed. This is some of the best acting Bruce Campbell has done. Try to change my mind.
He starts to redecorate the house after that point. No, I totally agree. Like, I always lose it when that scene comes along. I just find it impossible to not see him as the actor that he is doing those things to himself. It's like, holy shit.
Oh, dude. It's fucking brilliant because the hand has its own little voice. It's doing things completely independent of his body. And this just has to be a talent this dude has, because you couldn't just find any actor and be like, act like your hand's possessed, but it's got its own personality while your body's trying to do other things. There's not many people who could do that.
It really looks and feels as if he's being dragged forward by that hand. And also, like, when he starts slamming the plates into his face, by the way, fucking amazing. It doesn't look like someone taking a plate and slamming it to his face. It really looks like the hand is angry at him and just goes like,
yeah.
It's incredible. Like, it's hilarious, but it's also really cool.
It's cool as fuck, dude. Like, it's believable and it doesn't seem stupid. That's the thing. There's a lot of ways you could have done this and nobody would have bought it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nobody would have bought it. They would have just been like, yeah, okay, it looks ridiculous. But he does it and it looks like you said, like the hand is furious with him, right? It hits him in the head a whole bunch of time with plates, knocks him out at one point. Like, he is unconscious. And as he's unconscious and slumping on the floor, the hand is trying to, like, get to this knife that's at the other end of the hallway. And it, like, kind of almost looks back at him at one or two points. He's like, fuck, I still got this thing on behind me. So it grabs the floor, pulls him and his entire body forward, right? Once the hand gets to the knife and is about to grab it, he wakes up, grabs another butcher knife and stabs the hand, right? And then decides, fuck it, I'm going to cut this thing off. And this is probably the most iconic thing that even if you don't know what Evil Dead is, You know about some guy sawing off his own possessed hand. Everybody knows this scene.
And the montage that comes with, I think they do the montage as well there, right? Where you can see the chains being pulled, or is that just with the head? I can't remember anymore with the body.
No, that's later when he's making the chainsaw, but that's something
yeah.
that Sam Raimi does in every film.
Which I really like, and it's,
dude,
it's a bit of a cliche by now, but there's a good reason for that. Some things become cliche because they're just so good that they get used to a point where people go like, "Oh, it's that scene again." But I thought it was brilliant, and it has a certain power to it. Even other movies, like I think it was in Rocky as well, like the whole training scenes where he's like building up for a fight. I've always wondered, like, who started that, and are they inspired by each other, or does it have nothing to do with each other? It has that same feeling to me. Something
the
building,
montages,
basically.
That's a good movie question. Who started fucking montages?
I mean, it's a very interesting concept that you don't see used all that much anymore.
Yeah.
I think I miss it. Like, it always gives this feeling of something epic happening with it just a couple of seconds, and you really feel like you've seen the journey. And I think it's a very strong effect.
It's cool. And it's like you said, it's almost cliche. They reuse it, but the films that reuse it and do it the right way where it's effective are the ones that are directly trying to copy what Sam Raimi did. A good example of that is Shaun of the Dead. You see Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah.
Like when he's getting ready for work, he puts a name tag on. Everything's like done exactly like that. And it's a direct homage to Evil Dead.
I mean, it's a pretty good joke.
Yeah. So yeah, he cuts his own hand off. You get this really cool scene where you don't see him do it. You just see his face as he's doing it. And that freeze frame of his face with all the blood on it is the one that you always see used everywhere. Right. So that's it. It cuts immediately from that to the Nobi daughter and her friend who's working with her father. And they're in the woods, right? And they get to the bridge because they're trying to get to the house. The bridge is obviously out. And you have these two fucking, I would say, throwaway characters, right?
They feel like it to me, yeah.
They feel like throwaway characters, but goddamn can they act their asses off. I love both of these guys to death. They're only there to progress the story and also give two more people that are there to get slaughtered horribly.
Exactly.
They're fodder for the film.
To me, they were always, I never liked them for the exact reasons you just said. Like, obviously, some people in the horror movie are there as like said, as cannon fodder. But these seem so obviously, I don't know, they don't seem, I guess believable is the word. Like, is that even a thing in a movie like this, right? But they don't really feel like people to me. They seem like just characters shoved into a plot to fulfill a certain purpose. Yeah. And to make it worse, they are so incredibly cliche that, I mean, mainly the guy, of course. He's the hillbilly of hillbillies, basically. So.
Both of them are. These are typical American hillbillies, man.
Exactly.
Like, to a T, from the way that they're dressed to the way that they talk. Everything about them is just, they're people that live in the woods. This kind of like strikes me as like people you would see in West Virginia that are like waiting for people to break down so that they can take advantage of them in some way, you know?
I think I expected that to a certain degree, but when I saw the movie the first time.
Well, that's what happens. They're sitting there waiting at the bridge for someone to want to cross it.
Yeah.
And when these guys get there, he's like, yeah, the bridge is out, but there's a trail that goes there. And, you know, the girl is like, well, can you take us on the trail? And the guy's like, yeah, but it'll cost you. And she's like, how much? And he's like, $100. And she's like, okay, you got a deal.
But you carry only my luggage.
Yeah, only if you
and he says yes to it as well.
My luggage. So this fucking guy thinks he's won the lottery. He's like, fuck yeah. Okay, I have to carry 2 of your bags. Big deal. It's a fucking, like, what would you call this thing? It's like a big case that sits at the base of the bed.
It looks like a fridge, honestly. It's pretty big.
Fucking fridge. Like, yeah, you're going to carry my fridge and my suitcase. And you imagine this is not like a stroll through the park. This is a trail that probably goes like 3 or 4 miles. You even get a scene of him trying to carry the fucking thing on his back and he falls down with it and almost crushes him. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. But you get that introduction, it immediately cuts straight back to the cabin, and Ash has got his hand that he's cut off underneath a trash can. And there's a brilliant bit of humor here that it's one of those, you don't know, if you don't read or you didn't like get good like English literature teaching in high school, you wouldn't notice what was going on. But he puts 2 books on top of the trash can to try to keep the trash can on top of the hand. and one of them is A Farewell to Arms.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Did you catch that?
I didn't.
Yeah.
But I do know that title because I know that's also referenced in Blood.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Farewell to Arms. Brilliant. So he puts the book on top and he starts to tape up his wound with duct tape, which, by the way, if this were real world, this dude would already be
absolutely dead.
Dead as fuck. So there's something special going on with Ash that he's even still able to be alive. And that's the way I look at it. Like, something's going on with this guy. He's not completely normal, or else he'd be dead as hell. He's wrapping up duct tape around his wound. As he's doing that, he realized the hand gets away. It gets out from underneath the trash can. And the whole time, there's been people that have gone back in on the audio on this hand to see what the hand is actually saying, right? Because it's saying stuff the whole time, but it's such a low volume.
It's hard to hear. Yeah.
It's a low volume and it's sped up, so you can't make out what it's saying. But if somebody went back, got all the audio from the hand, and you get like a full transcript of what the hand is saying, and it's actually hilarious.
I always just figured they just took some talk from in between the takes and they just sped it up and slammed it in there. No one would listen to it anyway.
That's what I thought too. But apparently this thing has its own like whole dialogue. Go back and check it out because it's funny.
I definitely will. Yeah.
But very obscene. So, I mean, that's one reason I'm not like really going to go into it here. But if you're interested, go back and check out what the hand says.
I will, definitely. Like, it's probably one of those factoids. Once you hear him, you cannot unhear him, right?
Yeah. You get this whole fight scene between him and the hand. And this is personally, this is not the most shocking part of the part that made me remember the movie, but this is my favorite part of the movie.
When he shoots the door, you mean?
No, it's he has the shotgun, right? And he starts shooting at the hand that's going around.
Yes. At the wall, and then something happens to the wall.
Yes. The hand kind of goes across the floor. He shoots. It goes into a mouse hole in the wall, and he shoots the wall twice, and he thinks that he's hit it. But then you see the hand come back out of the mouse hole and give him the finger.
Yeah.
And then it turns around and it goes right back in, and he shoots the wall again. And when he shoots it this time, a little bit of blood trickles out of the wall. So he's like, "Gotcha, you little sucker," right? The blood doesn't stop coming out of the wall. It actually turns from like a trickle to basically like a fire hose of blood.
It has to be a fire hose, right? Like, I'm not sure what they use, but
yeah, there's more blood in this scene than is probably in any other movie, period. It comes out of not just the hole that he made with the shotgun. It comes out of every other hole in the wall in this cabin. And it's hitting him from all different directions, just like a fire hose, just blood. At one point again, the blood turns black.
They had 10% too much blood in that shot.
Yes, 10% too much blood. It all turns black and then sucks back into the wall. Right?
Which is once again that reverse effect that he goes for.
Yeah.
It's
Brilliant
so effective, stuff. Yeah. I think that's that thing, right? I think that really describes that movie very well. All of those movies. It goes from weird to ridiculous to absolute insanity. And then something happens which makes it kind of unsettling, namely that reverse thing, and just going back into the wall. That is actually kind of creepy, I think, compared to everything that came before.
Yeah,
so, there's a lot of flavors.
It's one of those things you don't expect either. Like, and I don't think horror movies do that nowadays, where they'll do something that you don't expect, that's off the wall, makes no sense, and you can't explain it, and it's a little bit unsettling. Like this movie did. All goes back in the wall. And then he's just kind of standing there in the middle of the floor with the shotgun. And he's completely just disturbed at this point. He's like, okay, I
obviously
don't know what's going on. I don't know what's coming next, but I'm going to sit down in this chair and I'm going to talk really big so that everything in this house knows that I can kill it if it comes for me. So he says, yeah, try it. Come at me. And he sits down in the chair and the chair breaks and he hits the ground. And at that point, the deer head that's on the wall turns and starts laughing hysterically in his face.
God, like, I don't know how long that selection of scenes is. It cannot be that long, but it really feels like it feels like
an eternity. Yes.
But so good. I think that was the part of the movie that I liked the most, where everything just starts going absolutely insane. It's
this whole scene really is my favorite. Like I said, it's not just the deer on the wall; it's the books on the shelves,
the lampshade.
It's the lamp that's sitting on the table next to him is just laughing hysterically in his face. Sam Raimi's brilliant because you get this scene of everything laughing in his face, and then all of a sudden you hear his voice laughing, and his face turns towards the camera.
Breaks the fourth
Probably the
wall.
most insane-looking Bruce Campbell face you've ever seen, and he's laughing hysterically into the camera, cross-eyed.
Absolutely, it's just
Fucking brilliant.
I can't think of any other actor that could have pulled that one off.
No,
Everyone else would have
nobody
just
else.
looked stupid doing that, but he's just
There's nobody else like Bruce Campbell, man. There's not. This guy is who he is because of the stuff that he can do, and he does a lot of different stuff too. It's not just horror. He's got some other stuff that he does, but this is what he's best at.
Yeah, I think his cult following is very, very deserved. Some people are just so unique that once you find someone like that and you like what they do, it's just impossible to replace them. So obviously you're going to be seeing what else they're doing, and that's how you get a cult following. I think it's not just the movies, it's the actor as well.
Yeah. And the thing about him too is he's been offered big roles and turned them down. He's one of those guys that does stuff that he thinks is ridiculous. And that served him really well, you know?
Yeah, I cannot really, I don't know if he ever did something very serious, but I find it very hard to imagine him in some blockbuster roles, for example. I don't see him do that, not because he couldn't, but because the association.
Yeah. Well, the thing about him is he's done a few other things outside of Sam Raimi movies, but almost everything he's done has been with Sam Raimi. That is his best friend, and he does his movies, including when Sam Raimi decides he's going to do a Marvel movie. Bruce Campbell shows up and does the Marvel movie with him as like a token character. But that character that he plays is always Ash. It's some version of Ash. This ridiculous character where the personality is no different than Ash. It just is Ash. It's just got a different name.
I think they also I don't know how they met each other, but I guess
they were college buddies.
I think they're really lucky to run into each other because, I mean, that's one good combination.
Yeah, it's a cool story. They met in college along with Rob Tapert, who's the producer, and they didn't even want to make a horror movie. They just wanted to make a movie. And then at the time, they realized that horror was what was big and what was getting signed. So they were like, yeah, we can do that. And they made Evil Dead. And then it just went from there. But it's always been the same three guys: Rob Tapert, Sam Raimi, and Bruce Campbell.
But what's interesting about that to me is if they were making horror because that's just the ticket right now, my guess is they were probably not the biggest horror fans at that point to begin with. So maybe there was a certain form of naivety that helped them to create something unique. I feel like
I think so.
Naive art is underrated in that regard. Since we were talking about why is there no originality in many things, right? I think originality generally comes from naivety. At first, everyone's naive because it's new, it's a new technology. But at some point when it's very developed, it becomes very hard to make something in a bubble because it's very hard to not have heard or seen something else is being done. But it does exist, and I think it would be really cool if in any media, really, or any art form, if there was a way to find people who are creating from that naive standpoint. But of course, the problem is because they're doing that, you will probably never hear of them. That's a bit of a thing, and
in today's world,
I've been thinking about it for a long time now. Like, how should we do that? There should be some kind of parallel way of finding things or sharing things. That's almost the opposite of what we're doing right now, but I don't really know how to solve that.
So
that's what I'm mainly interested in.
There is a really good example of this to where it worked really well, and it was kind of lightning in a bottle because of that, and it's still going. I don't know if in its music. So have you heard of the band Zeal and Ardor yet?
Oh yeah, I love them. Very good example, exactly. Like it's probably the most original thing I've heard in years. My wife is actually a massive fan of them.
Huge, same. Huge fan of Zeal and Ardor. And that guy had no idea what he wanted to do, what genre, nothing. He said, I forget exactly how it was, but he got on a thread. You know the story probably better than me, but he got on a thread and he was like, give me two things that are completely unrelated. And whatever those two things are, that's the genre I'm going to create.
Like gospel and black metal or something like that, probably, right?
Specifically Southern black slave gospel and black metal. And he was like,
really
okay.
Cool.
Holy shit.
I would definitely, by the way, if anyone is hearing this and you haven't heard of Zeal and Ardor, like check out, I think it was the first album. I think he has 2 by now.
Yeah, the first one is Stranger Fruit.
Yeah.
and they have 3 albums out, right? I think they have
Might
2
have, yeah.
main albums and then 1 EP,
I think so too.
but everything they put out has been brilliant.
In any case,
Mm.
start at the start and just go with it. Like, it was really surprising to me, and I really, really loved it.
If you want an idea of what it is without maybe having to go search out the album, go look for a song called Ship on Fire and listen to that song, and that will tell you if it's something that you'd be into or not, probably. But I've got the album when it came out, and then I've seen them live now 3 times, and it's amazing what these guys do. And the
Yeah.
guy's got an incredible voice.
Yeah, he does.
Incredible voice.
I'm also not quite sure how he does the music side of things. I think he's a guitarist.
He's a guitarist, yeah.
But I think the band members, I'm not sure if this is true, but I think the band members are not, how do you call it? They're not really part of the band. They're more part of the touring group that
Session.
you're with.
Yeah, session.
Yet there's a certain consistency among the way that the instruments are filled in. And I wonder if this is done by him and people just follow instructions, or if he just has a way of bringing that out of people. You know what I mean? Like, I think of someone like Chuck from Def, for example. Like, he did his own thing. And every drummer I've ever heard that played with him, like Gene, for example, Gene Hoagland,
Yeah.
he said whenever I played with Chuck just started playing a riff and said, do whatever you want, like, just surprise me. And Gene did his thing. Gene being Gene, of course, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it does sound very Def. And when Gene plays for someone like Devin Townsend, for example, it sounds very different. So what is that, right? Like, there must be something about the one thing that brings out the other, and that's really interesting to me. And I wonder if the guy from Zealand Ardor also has this quality where
I hate to use the term cult of personality, but that's almost what it feels like.
maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, there are people that kind of radiate a certain type of energy, at least with music, and you, as a musician, kind of attach yourself to that and kind of become that with your own style, right?
I've always felt the same way. I mean, I've never been a huge fan, but I have had my favorite tracks by them. And someone like Danny Fell, for example, also had a similar vibe to me. Like, he's always been the vocalist. I don't know if he even writes music beyond vocals. Yet why is it that over the years he has made many albums that have things that are very reminiscent of albums from, let's say, 20 years earlier, despite having a completely different band around him? That's very interesting.
I think everybody in the band has switched out except for him too, which is strange.
So I guess the other band members know this well what it means to be Cradle of Filth, that they can create something to sound like Cradle of Filth, and then it becomes Cradle of Filth because that's what they are at that point.
Yeah,
that really breaks my head, dude.
I think so, but I think I'm kind of speaking from ignorance on it because I haven't been doing this for that long, but I would assume that a band like them, or even a band like Death that has its own specific sound, you probably would not have joined that band if you didn't have a decent idea of what it was kind of supposed to sound like. And I imagine, I don't know because I don't play an instrument, but I imagine if you play an instrument, you kind of know how to mold yourself to that sound somewhat.
There are certain things you can emulate, I would say, but everyone has such a unique tone. I feel there's some people who are really like a chameleon when it comes to that. Like, channels of people on YouTube that make a song which sounds like it's made by another band, basically. And I mean, as funny as that can be, I think it's really incredible when you can do that. I can't do that. I can't go like, okay, I'm going to sound like Korn right now. I don't know how to do that. That's so different from what I play. I wouldn't be able to copy that. But some people just really know how to pick out the essence and then recreate that, which is funny to me because in a way, those people would probably be more suited to writing new material for those bands than some of those bands are themselves, because it's difficult to come up with new stuff when you've already established your sound, but you as a person don't stay the same. Like, let me just give a reference to my own stuff. Like, when I started writing music for Shylmagoghnar, I was like 14, 15, 16 years old. I am 39 now. I don't think like a 14-year-old anymore, so I cannot possibly write the way I did back then, even if I tried, and I wouldn't want to because I'm in a different spot right now. So I feel someone like that would be more able to write something like, for example, the first album than I am right now, which is weird, but it's true.
No, it makes perfect sense though. I mean, music is supposed to evolve, I think, right? There's that whole there's that whole level of every fandom that is pissed off every time a musician or a band changes their sound.
Yeah.
But if you've been around long enough, you understand that that's not necessarily them selling out or
No, it's unavoidable.
doing anything like that. Music progresses. If you make one album, you don't want the next album to sound exactly like the last.
Yeah.
You want it to build on that.
You've
But-
already done that. Why would you want to do that again?
Why would you do it again? Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I would
I don't
get
know.
very
Like
bored in that
listening,
case.
listening to your stuff, I listened to the first album and I listened to the third one. And it is a huge difference in the way that the music is composed, the story, all of that stuff. But you can listen to one song from the first album and one song from the third album, and you know that it's Shylmagoghnar.
Because it has that flavor, and that's the weird thing to me. Because if you would ask me, is there a difference in the way those songs are written? No, doing the exact same thing as I did back then. It's even surprising to me how strongly, both positively and negatively, people can pick up on the differences. Because to me, there is no difference. It's just the current thing that's happening in my head, translated into the style of that music, which is what I've always done. So whether someone loves or hates something, it is what it is, basically.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. It may be like off topic from the movie completely. We may go down a rabbit hole.
We
and I
never
may
do
have
those
to
things.
Apologize to my listeners for like having to edit some of it out, but I have to ask, like, do you find that people's opinion of your music or what they have to say influences what you do with the album?
No, not at all. The opposite, even. I think I fear a change of opinion. That's true, but that is because I know that I'm doing what feels necessary to me at the moment. Actually, one of the sentences that is on the first album was kind of referencing that already. It was not written by me. The lyrics were written by my mate Skerge. Let me think. It wasn't Eden and Ashes. Basically, he describes that he's doing something, knowing fully well that people will hate him for it, but it has to be done. One cannot change what must be done. That's kind of where he goes with that. Like. Okay. And that's like we've always embodied this spirit in the band. We've always done things because we felt like this is what should be, and if it's going to piss someone off, it is the way it is. If we wouldn't do this, we would actually feel like we're selling out, or we're just not being honest with ourselves. And every album has at least one song on there that I just know that people will go like, "What the fuck is that?" It's weird. It's different. Maybe not in a negative way, but it is different enough that you will probably notice, okay, what's happening right now. And oftentimes it's like the synthesizer tracks, for example. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but that fits.
It fits now, but it fits now because we did it from the start. I feel if we hadn't done it from the start, the reactions to it would have been much more negative, probably. And in the first album we did, on purpose, we did some things which are unusual for debut albums. One of them obviously being starting with a very long instrumental. Like, can't remember how long it is, like 9 or 10 minutes instrumental.
It's like 9.5 minutes, yeah.
As the first track of the first album, like, it's kind of risky, to be honest.
It's risky, but I think for the time that came out, that was actually wanted.
Maybe. I wasn't aware of that.
Think about what was popular at the time. It was much more musically based.
That's interesting.
And less about aggression and less about, it was
inward journey.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I didn't know whether that was going to be popular or not. There's a very high chance that people would have shut it down because there was not enough action in the first song, and we would have lost them forever, and the band would have crashed and burned. Yet it just felt to me that it was absolutely necessary to have that track because it was the introduction. It was the start of the roller coaster of emotions that we wanted to show to the listener. Like, you cannot start with a song like Eden and Ashes or Emergence because there's already a preset atmosphere for that. And if you just start with that and someone is somewhere else, they don't know how to connect to that. And the entire point of I Am the Abyss was to start that right, to basically push you where we wanted to put you for the rest of the album, so you understood it better. That was the point. And we did that because it was necessary, not because it would be popular. And every album has that. Every album does something like that. And on the last album, for example, it's the song The Sea. The Sea was a song that I knew I had to write because it was for my mom, and I dreamt that song. That song to me was
the best
was
song
a
on the
vision.
album, dude. In my opinion,
I agree. Like, I'll straight up say it. I think that is the most honest song I've ever written, and there were reactions to that just straight up said, "See, that there's a sellout track, there's the ballad, there's the blah, this is it. And I enjoyed those comments because to me it just says like, you see what you want to see no matter what I do. Now I feel free because apparently it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how honest I am. Some people will love it. Most people understood it. Most people said, I lost someone. This is exactly what I needed to hear right now, or stuff like that. A lot of attention towards my mom, which is of course what I wanted. I wanted her name to be known. I wanted people to know how amazing she was. And
yeah, you even when you did the video, you had her name at the
exactly. I just wrote it down right in front of everything. One small addition that I really liked about that: Napalm Records always starts their videos with the big explosive logo. Usually they're very adamant about that. We've asked them before, can we leave that out or make it quiet, because it's kind of like it doesn't go with every vibe, that explosion, right? And usually they were just honest about it and said, sorry, this is our branding. It just needs to be there, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
For this song, I did not ask them to do that. They did it by themselves.
No
they left
shit.
it out on purpose because
Holy
they realized
crap.
they realized
Have you told
they
people
knew.
that before?
I think I said it in the comments. I hope people notice it, and if
Man,
not,
that's wild. Holy crap.
so if you want proof, first of all, that I do things because I feel that they are the right thing to do, there you go. That's that track. And also, like I said before, like if you want proof that not every label is out there to destroy music and just rip everyone off, there you go. That's Napalm Records. They have been super supportive to me during that time, and that is just one of the many things they've done to show to me that they actually have a heart. So yeah, I really want people to know that because they've been so cool to me.
I don't know, dude. You're selling me pretty hard on Napalm Records right now.
They're really cool. They're really nice people.
Might actually have to look into that. That's cool, dude. I didn't realize that. I don't think I've ever seen another. Maybe I just didn't notice the Napalm logo at the beginning of the videos, or it could also be that I just don't watch that many heavy metal videos.
No, I think they ended up like what they do at the end of videos is they always reference to similar bands that you might enjoy, and they still have that, so there's still like a natural flow through, which hopefully helps them. But I thought that was super respectful of them.
That is fucking cool, man.
Really, really cool. Yeah,
that is cool. Okay, Napalm Records. All right, cool.
good.
Long rant, but good stuff. I think. I mean, I'll leave this part in there too. Like, I think I don't with this podcast. I never wanted to make apologies about like if we do go on tangents to talk about something important away from the movie, because I feel like if you're looking, if anything, metal is a real thing, and I don't think you should have to censor yourself. I don't think you should have to like leave parts out if they're important to you. So I'm not cutting this. I'm leaving this in.
Leave it in.
I think that's super important stuff, even if we do get away from the movie. And like I said, if people are watching this and just want to hear about the film, then you're watching it for the wrong reasons. Anyway, man, what's left to say about this film? Like there's a lot more scenes that need to be talked about, but I think probably the most important thing is the fact that from this point on, after you get the hand being cut off and it hides and he gets splattered by all this blood. This is the part I wanted to talk about earlier. Right here is when the fever dream kind of ends.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we were talking about since the beginning of the film, and maybe if you're one of those people who really wants to read into it, the first film and the second film up to this point, all of it could have been just this horrible freaking fever dream, because right at this point, everything starts to feel normal again. Right. So almost. And then it goes haywire again. But there's like this moment of clarity in the middle of this insanity that goes on in this film. And it's right when everything in the cabin stops laughing at him. It stops. He hears a knock at the door, and he shoots the door twice with the shotgun. You hear a girl scream, and then dead silence. So he thinks he may have shot somebody on the outside of the cabin. So he goes to the door to try and see if he hurt somebody or if somebody's there, and immediately gets jumped by Jake, the hillbilly dude, who starts kicking his ass, knocks him out. Annie walks in. Everybody is now in the cabin, the two hillbillies, and then the girl and the guy. And the first thing they notice is the home light chainsaw sitting on the ground covered in blood.
Yeah.
And so her first thought is, shit, this guy came into the cabin and killed my parents.
Which is a natural thing to...
Yes. I would have thought the same thing, right? But there is no blood on the floor anywhere after this huge explosion of blood that came out of every orifice in the wall, because it all got sucked back in. The only blood that's on the floor is the stuff that's on the chainsaw. which that's there because he cut off his own hand.
Uh,
And so they lock him in the cellar. He's knocked out, but they're like, fuck it, this guy's crazy. They stick him in the cellar, and he's down there kind of starting to come to. And he's coming to as Annie is playing the tape recorder that her father recorded his last message on, right?
the summoning message.
The tape recorder goes through some of the summoning, and then it also he says, my wife got possessed, and I realized that the only way that I can save her is bodily dismemberment. I couldn't bring myself to do that, so I buried her in the fruit cellar. Right. And of course, this is where Ash is laying on the ground on the bottom of the fruit cellar. And the minute he says that on the tape recorder, the possessed wife busts out of the ground, Henrietta, right? With worms sticking out of her head. Like, this is all stop motion stuff, right? But I think that makes it even more creepy.
It is. I love
Kind of
it.
like we said before, it is stop motion, but it looks absolutely insane. The rotted corpse of Henrietta comes out of the ground. And this suit is disgusting. By the way, this is Ted Raimi in this suit.
Did not know that.
Yes, this is Ted Raimi. This is a brother of Sam Raimi, and the only films he's in are his brother's movie as well. So he plays Henrietta. Henrietta starts to attack Ash. They realize upstairs that something is going on, and maybe the guy that they have in the cellar is not really a murderer like they think he is.
Mm.
So Jake reaches down and grabs Ash out of the cellar right as Henrietta's about to grab him. Right? When they get him upstairs, he tries to start explaining what's going on. As he's doing this, the other guy that came with Annie, which I cannot remember his name.
I have the same problem with him every time. Like, I cannot remember the names of
Can't
any of
remember his
those three side characters. I always forget about them.
But quite honestly, another throwaway character for me. He doesn't
Exactly.
last very long in the film. He does get probably the coolest looking Deadite of all of them, right?
Remind me.
So as Ash is trying to explain what's going on, he transforms like this. What it is it looks like him, except his mouth is really big on his face.
Yeah.
Rows and rows and rows of teeth.
It's pretty fucked up.
The makeup's really good. Like it's a really good looking prosthetic and creepy. He kind of does the same thing that Ash's sister does in the first movie, which is rise up off the floor with both hands like this. He says, "We are the things that were and shall be again. We want what is yours, life." And then starts chanting "Dead by Dawn." Right? And as he starts that, everything else in the house starts chanting "Dead by Dawn," including the deer head that's on the wall, the books, the lamp. Everything starts chanting this. Henrietta in the cellar is raising the door up saying "Dead by Dawn, Dead by Dawn." And that's where we get the title of this movie. It's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
And I always wonder, like that, like in what order did that come? Because to me, the statement "Dead by Dawn" doesn't really make sense in that regard. Yeah. Like, I would maybe expect "Death by Dawn," but "Dead by Dawn" sounds like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like it follows what they said before. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense in the whole lore either.
It's a bit like "I swallow your soul." Like, I always thought it was weird that something like, I think the hand says it as well, right? "I swallow your soul."
No, the hand
that's
says,
in blood.
That's swallow your soul in blood.
Yeah, that's what I got mixed up.
Yeah, but I thought that was cool that they did that.
It is a nice reference. But I always wonder, like, I expect when something says "I swallow your soul," I guess I would expect it to be more mouth-based, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Like, it didn't really seem like the kind of thing that would swallow you. So
no, a hand is not going to swallow your soul. But yeah, I get what you mean. But that they did it in the Blood video game, and I thought that was a cool image. The zombies in Blood say "Join us."
Join us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, specifically
that one
the big fat zombies.
Yeah. Join us.
Which I don't think we mentioned that yet. The house actually says "Join us" at the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Because it gets like a pair of eyes and some teeth, and it says "Join us." And then I think that might be the only time you hear that in this movie. In the first movie, you heard "Join us" all the time.
That's true. I didn't think it's used again in the third one. I can't remember if it's in Army of the Dead as well.
Army of Darkness, I think.
Army of Darkness, I mean, yeah.
No.
Don't think so.
No, they never say "Join us." It's only in the first one and the second one, but only for that one part at the beginning of this film. Right. So anyway, so that Deadite kind of threatens and then attacks the girl, the mountain girl, I'll call her. I can't remember her name. What is it? It's a real redneck name too. It's not like Bobby Joe.
It's the one, Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe. Yes. And the only reason I remember that is because when she goes missing, he starts screaming her name at the top of his lungs
Bobby
in
Joe.
like this really terrible redneck accent. Bobby Joe! So that Deadite attacks the hillbilly girl. And when that happens, Jake, of course, runs immediately to her to try to stop this entity from attacking her. He immediately reaches out, grabs Jake by the throat, and throws him into the ceiling. He hits his head, breaks a light bulb, and then falls down, passed out. Ash is kind of missing in action at this point. We saw him run off, and Annie calls him a coward because it looks like he just runs off screen.
Because he ran away, right?
But he runs off screen to get an axe, comes back with an axe, and hits this thing right in the head, taking the top part of its head off. Interesting thing here, continuity errors and everything else abound. Okay, so when he takes the top of this thing's head off, it's green blood everywhere. Green blood, right? He takes the axe once he's taken the top of its head off and continues to hit it over and over again with the axe. And you see the axe going in and out of something, and there's green blood everywhere. It's spraying all over the walls. They show it hit the deer face, the bookshelf, the walls, everything. And the minute he stops hacking and the thing is dead, they all kind of huddle together around Ash because they don't know what's coming next. And you get a full view of the cabin. There's no blood on the walls, no blood anywhere. All the green blood apparently is self-cleaning, like the self-cleaning zombies from video games.
Mr. Clean went.
Yeah. I just think that's funny. I always point it out. I'm that nerd that when you watch a movie with me, I'm like, did you notice this? Did you notice this?
That is a skill, dude. That is really a skill. Like I can watch a movie 10 times in a row, and for some reason, I am absolutely oblivious to this kind of stuff. Like I tend to know background facts if I care about something, but the really obvious elephant in the room, I just miss it every single time.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
That's my curse. It doesn't ruin films for me, but I notice it every time.
The thing is, like with a movie like this, it's enjoyable in a way, but it can take the seriousness out of a serious scene. Like if someone suddenly has a different shirt on, or that kind of takes you out of it, and like, okay, now it's not a movie anymore. I can tell they just pasted a couple of scenes together.
Right.
The suspense of disbelief is gone, basically.
It would take a lot of people out of a film, but this is one of those movies where it just doesn't matter. I don't care.
No.
I don't care. Anyway, so they're all huddled around each other, and then they hear a sound in the other room, which I think is the room that's directly to the left of the kitchen, which if you remember the first movie and this movie, there's nothing in there but a bedroom, right? So they go into that room because they hear the sound. The minute they open the door, we get some of the worst special effects of probably any of these movies. But again, I don't think it really matters because the message is there. You get kind of a ghostly apparitional face of Annie's father, who is the guy who translated the Book of the Dead and read the passages on the tape recorder. He's kind of there as an apparition, and he says, you have to get this evil spirit back into the world it came from. The only way to do that is through the pages that you brought with you that we unearthed at the castle, and they're right there on the table. The ghost actually points to the table.
That one always threw me off. Like that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like your salvation lies there, and he's not really pointing at anything, but then they show you the pages.
It's like a quest marker.
Yeah, it feels like a quest marker, right? And he's like, okay, and the spirit says, dispel the evil, send it back to the world it came from, and that will save my soul, so I don't have to hang out here in limbo or whatever. And then he just disappears. When he disappears, all the lights in the room break. The lights go out, and they're all kind of standing there in the dark, and Ash picks up a lantern, lights the lantern, and that lets the light back into the room. When that happens, Bobby Joe says, Jake, you're holding my hand too tight. And he goes, honey, I'm not holding your hand. And she looks down, and it's Ash's severed hand holding onto her hand, which causes her to freak out, bump into Ash. He drops the lantern. Everything goes dark. Right. You get this scream in the distance that you hear outside of the cabin, and you realize that it's Bobby Joe leaving the cabin, running through the woods. Right. And so I don't know what you thought about this part. Did you see this before you saw part one?
I cannot remember. I think this is the last one that I saw, actually.
Okay. So you probably saw part one before this. So
I think I saw either one first and then three, or the other way around.
Okay. So if you were seeing this in the actual chronological order of the way the movies came out, you would automatically think okay, the last time this happened, a girl ran into the woods
Did
and
not
she
end well.
got
Yeah.
taken advantage of by a bunch of trees, right?
Mhm. So you're kind of expecting it to happen again.
Yeah. You're expecting that to happen again, although it doesn't quite happen the same way it does in the first one. She's running through the woods. We get a really cool special effect that I liked. It's also the reversal technique that you were talking about, reverse filming. The vines come from the ground and start attaching themselves to her face and to her skin. But instead of like attaching themselves, you actually see them go into her skin and through her skin. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
kinda
remember
gnarly,
seeing
yeah.
it the first time, wondering how the fuck they did that. And then I
I'm not
realized
sure.
it's filmed in reverse.
But then still, like, it really does feel like it's going in, right? So, like,
Yeah.
maybe some
It's-
rubber
Yeah,
prosthetic
they've
skin or
got
something. Yeah.
what's probably latex over her face
Yeah.
and then the vines underneath it.
So these
And
are
then
well
they
done.
slowly pull them away and then they put the filming in reverse to where it looks
Yeah.
like they're going. It's a really cool effect.
It's really clever.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. And they continue to do this thing throughout this film, this type of filming. And it works great here, and it's not done in too many movies. We talked about that at the beginning of this podcast too.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not used more. I would rather that than CGI.
It's not just that it has an interesting vibe, but also, like you said, like if you need an effect where something moves in an unnatural way, it's a very practical solution because it's always
Yeah.
easier to pull something away than to shove something in a certain direction. And at least
Right.
for that kind of scene, I would expect it to happen more often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they just don't do it in other
Yeah.
films. It feels very alien when they do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great effect for these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Note to filmmakers, maybe do a little bit more of that.
Maybe, yeah.
Leave the CGI alone. CGI is expensive anyway.
Mhm.
So she gets taken by the trees into the woods. We get the vines pull her at a speed that looks like it's probably around 35, 40 miles an hour through the woods, through mud puddles that just
Would
explode.
probably
as
fuck
she's
you up
going-
pretty badly.
Yeah. I imagine she probably got pulled at a very low speed, but they sped it up.
Definitely, yeah.
And we don't see her death, but we see her kind of end up in the mouth of a tree. And that's the end of her. That's the last time we see her.
Yeah.
Back at the cabin, of course, Jake wakes up and he's not happy about the fact that she's gone.
We want to
He
go look
says
for
to
her, yeah.
Ash, we need to go out into the woods and we need to find Bobby Joe. Ash is like, no, you idiot.
Mhm.
She's dead. If we go out there, we're going to get killed too. Stop what you're doing.
He has seen this before, so you should really
Yes.
listen to him.
He doesn't give a shit. He grabs the shotgun and he points it at Ash and he's like,
Yeah.
nope, we're going outside.
Walk.
Of course. So they go out in the woods with him. He's holding the gun to their back the entire time. When they get further enough out in the woods, Jake starts screaming for Bobby Joe with that really terrible screeching redneck
Damn it.
accent that he's got. He's screaming. We get the little demon. I like to call it the demon on the motorcycle. Yeah, everything goes.
One of the silliest looking Ash scenes ever.
Yes, although I really like the way he looks possessed. They went overboard with his look. Yeah. So of course he attacks Jake, messes him up a lot. You think maybe Jake's dead because he picks him up and throws him a good distance head first into a tree. And then he goes after Annie. Annie runs into the house, closes all the doors. Ash is doing this thing on the outside, which we call the Fred Flintstone.
Is that the just banging the door?
Yeah,
Yelling
he's
Wilma.
up on the door doing this.
I could see why you call it that.
And he does exactly what Fred Flintstone does too. He bangs on the door and goes, Annie, and
Dude,
starts banging
I
again.
didn't realize like that cannot be possibly a coincidence.
No, they did that
It's
shit
just a
on
reference
purpose.
to
man.
Fred Fritz.
They did that shit on purpose. He makes it around the side of the cabin, and if I'm remembering this correctly, she's standing in front of the door holding it closed. He's banging on the outside of the door and can't get in, and then fucks off. He goes away. And again, something starts banging on the door. This time she's got the dagger, the Kandarian dagger, the one that's supposed to kill Deadites. She notices something banging on the door. It opens up and she stabs whatever it is in the chest. Unfortunately, it's Jake.
Oops.
Oops.
Shit happens in these movies.
Yeah. Not real sad about that. I was not in love with the character anyway. But
Same. No, to me, that's always like when a character like that dies. To me, it's just like, thank God that's over.
Yeah. Done with this guy anyway. Not to say that the actor didn't do a good job. I
No,
actually
obviously.
love the guy acted his ass off. But this scene is great because he falls on the ground. When she realizes that she stabbed him, she takes her hands off of him and kind of does this. He hits the ground in front of the door to where his legs are hanging out of the door and his top half is inside with this knife sticking out, right? She sees Ash as the Deadite outside running towards them to get inside the door. Instead of reaching down and grabbing him and pulling him inside, she starts to try to slam the door while he's still in it.
Yeah, that's like a reasonable thing to do.
Dude.
But you know
He's
what?
just-
Like people
what?
do that kind of stuff when they're in panic. They start to go in very basic modes, and in a way, I think it's believable.
It is believable. It just looks extremely painful, and it's also funny
That's very
it's-
disrespectful to the dying / dead character.
because the whole time she's trying to slam the door, he's screaming bloody murder because she's hitting him right where the knife is. You know,
That's one
She
thing that
finds-
all of these movies do. They really drive that dagger home.
yeah.
All of them. It's
Like,
the same with the
let's
pencil.
take-
It just goes like.
Let's take the most ridiculous thing we can do and just make it worse. Yes,
Exactly.
I love it, dude. She pulls him inside the house finally right before Ash gets there, slams the door, drags him across the floor. Worst placement she could probably place this guy right in front of the hatch that goes down into the basement. And he's like, okay, get this thing out of me. She pulls the dagger out. By the way, kids, worst thing you
Don't-
could do if you have
don't, yeah.
somebody impaled with something is to just pull it out. But that's what she does. Internal bleeding all over the place.
Yep.
She goes to the door hoping Ash is going to come through. When she does, of course, Henrietta jumps out of the basement and grabs him by the head and starts dragging him into the floor, into the basement. This is your second scene with probably, I don't know, 18 gallons of blood.
Mhm.
Because he gets pulled halfway in and then blood just starts spewing out of the cellar, like at very high speeds.
Am I the only one who always wonders what's happening inside of there at that moment when there's like gallons and gallons of blood is spewing out? Like, what is she doing? The same question for Evil Dead 3. Like that
Yeah,
pit.
Army of Darkness, yeah.
Yeah, when that blood comes out of the pit, what the when we'll get there later. We'll get there next time.
I wonder the same thing, but it's the same effect because it's almost like the body just liquefies.
Yeah, exactly.
But even if a body liquefies, a body does not contain that much blood.
no, like it has to be some kind
no
of
way
black
that would
magic.
happen. It is always way too much blood.
But then even when someone else goes down there, like when Ash goes down there, like yes, there is a monster that needs to be fought, but they don't do anything out of the ordinary except for trying to grab you, trying to bite you and stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yet for these side characters, they just absolutely explode
Yeah,
into nothingness.
I don't get that either. I also wondered the same thing, but that continues. I know you haven't seen the series, but in the series that continues, and it actually is a joke.
Like I'm glad because it's cool. It makes no sense, but I love it.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's like the side characters get killed very quickly and with a lot of
blood.
gore and a lot of blood, but for whatever reason, they don't do that to the main characters at all. And it doesn't make any sense, but it's not supposed to make sense. So yeah, he's toast. Unfortunately, the pages are also down in the cellar because
Of course,
he threw them down in the cellar before he took them outside to go find Billy Joe, right? So Ash busts in through the door as a Deadite. He picks Annie up, throws her against the wall, knocks her out. Before he goes, it looks like he's going to go and like tear her to pieces, her body that's laying on the floor. This is when he realizes the necklace that his girlfriend gave him is on the floor in front of him. Did you notice that this thing is always in the shape of a skull?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
No.
So when he finds it in the first movie on the floor later and in this movie, the
you mean like with the
is
chain and
always
stuff? Okay.
in the
no, I did
shape
not
of
pick
the
up on that.
skull, yeah. Which is interesting. And they do that again too in the series.
Huh.
But I just think it's a cool thing that they did. It's just
Kind of
kinda
wondering
blink
what
and
the
you miss
thought
it.
behind it was now. Like, except, I mean, a skull, yeah. What does it
It's a-
mean in that case?
I tend to read way too much into things. So
Probably just, hey, it's a skull, it's cool or so.
it's a skull, it's cool, yeah. There's no reasoning behind it. So when Ash sees the necklace, he turns back into himself. Again, the Deadite leaves him. This time it's because he's sad. He starts crying when he picks up the necklace. That's enough to transform him. Annie wakes up. This is great because she doesn't realize that he's not a Deadite anymore.
So she
And
tries
she's
to
got an axe. Yeah, and she tries to hit him with it, hits the wall next to him, and he's like, whoa, 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 it's me. So he stops her, backs her up away from him, and says, I'm okay. don't worry, I'm okay, I'm me. And then leans up against the wall again and does this. He's like, and at that exact second, you see the axe hit the wall again.
I mean, would you have trusted him? I wouldn't.
Fuck no!
Everyone else did that trick, so no, fuck that. Just kill him.
I would have tried to kill him too. I can't blame her. I just think it's a
Definitely.
funny scene.
If anything, that's probably some of the most sense that any of the side characters have made in that movie.
But yeah, I mean, it does make sense because nobody else has ever come back from that and stayed that way. Anyway, so he's back. He says to her, I don't know how long I'm going to be this way. You know, it might come back, whatever. What do we need to do? She says, well, we need to get the pages that are in the basement because if I can translate those, we can send this thing back to where it came from and then get out of here. He says, okay, but if we're going down into the cellar, we need to go down with some type of weapon.
Yeah.
And this is where you get the chainsaw on the arm. Famous, this thing right here. They go back to the work shed. You get this cool montage that's very Sam Raimi. The chains being pulled, the hooks being put on, this chainsaw being built, and then him sticking it on his hand. This is where
Which
you get
is really cool, I think.
Dude, it's awesome and iconic.
It's
And
Captain Hook on steroids, basically.
Yes. And because of how cool this scene is and how synonymous it is with this movie, it's never been done again. Have you noticed that?
I mean, how could you? Like, if you use that, everyone's going to know you took that from Evil Dead. It's so obvious.
Yeah. And it's brilliant that no other movie had done this up until this point. And this is something that just is synonymous with Evil Dead, and nobody else can ever do it again because of that. It's fucking awesome.
Good.
Interesting thing about this, these chainsaws, there were not a whole lot of them made. So this run of this particular chainsaw, there weren't a lot made. It was a Homelight, which was a famous brand at that time, but this particular version of it, they didn't make that many. So
probably
after the movie,
became,
there were a lot of people looking for this chainsaw so that they could remake it the way that they did in this movie. And not a whole lot could be found until much, much, much later. Like in the, I want to say it was like early 2000s, somebody found a warehouse full of them, and I got one of them.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that clearly is a collectible at that point.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. But yeah, so he goes the rest of this movie with this thing on his hand. By the way, the chainsaw itself, even hollowed out with nothing inside of it,
it's heavy, right?
Weighs about 25 pounds.
I thought about that the entire time. Like, that has to be uncomfortable. Like,
yes. It is super heavy, even without all of the stuff inside of it. Because you're talking about the blade, you're talking about the housing, you're talking about everything else that's been put on it.
And it just extends as well. So it's like trying to hold a long stick. It just drags you down, basically.
Yeah.
Another thing, if I recall correctly, the scenes where the chainsaw is used, it is actually being used, so it was kind of dangerous. There was this one shot where they have the corpse on the table, and you see the chainsaw like above it, like this, and they really had to rev a chainsaw above someone's body for that, and it was a bit uncomfortable. So luckily,
you're talking about Army of Darkness,
Is that Army of Darkness? Isn't that
Army of Darkness? That's when.
I thought it was when they. I thought it's when they decapitate the body of the girlfriend in this one, but.
Oh, no. When how does he do it? So when he decapitates her, he does it with a shovel at the beginning of this movie, and in part one, it's with a shovel. And then the part you're talking about is Army of Darkness when his doppelganger comes out.
Yes, exactly.
He defeats him. He has the time to a table.
That's
and
the one.
But you're right. That was a real.
Got the chainsaw scene's a little bit mixed up.
Okay, there's a lot of chainsaw scenes, dude. But there were several different models made of this thing. There was one that actually had working gears with a working chain on the outside that he could put his hand in. Wasn't a real blade. And then there were several versions that were actual working versions. Right? And this is like nerdy stuff. Like if you want the actual correct version, you have to pick the scene and the version of the chainsaw you want from that scene, and that's the one you'll get. There's so many different types.
And I'm sure it's so documented that it's known exactly who has which one, right?
It is insane, the documentation they have on this chainsaw.
That's the thing with fandoms. It's always to such obscene degrees. It's quite impressive.
You gotta love that, though, man. I appreciate that. Like all the research that goes into stuff like that. You really have to like something.
Everyone has their own way of loving something, and it doesn't really matter how it's done. It's just interesting to me that you can always find others who are just like you, that are willing to obsess over this minute detail somewhere in scene number 3. And
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really cool. Like, everyone
I
has their
think
own form of obsession with things.
that's what makes life interesting, though, is like to have things that you really are into and can talk to other people about or can enjoy with other people, because that's what this life is about.
Yeah, I agree.
It is. It's not just you're going to work to pay bills and then you die. We got to have fun with the things that we really enjoy. And there's always somebody else that enjoys the same thing you do. You might as well be a dork,
Exactly.
you know?
Which is why we have shows like these, right?
Yes. 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 By the way, anybody watching this, you're a dork.
Sorry to break
You're
it
a
to you
huge
guys.
dork. Congratulations.
I think most people are very self-aware about that kind of stuff.
I don't care. I think it's a compliment.
No, I've leaned into it since I was a teenager. So
It's just like I told Mike, I was like, have you ever wondered people that look in at metal from the outside? What do they see? Do they see a bunch of guys wearing black that could possibly be like evil or have some like bad intention for humanity?
some of them do, I think. It
Some
really
of them do.
depends on the indoctrination you've been receiving. Let's
Yes.
put it that way. Yeah. I've also known plenty of people who were very neutral about it and were very open to just basically seeing what the person is like, and
Yeah.
so then maybe afterwards asking you, hey, what's with the black clothes? What's with this? What's with that? And yeah, people of all sorts respond all different to it. And I think it's at the very least it's a filter. You'll be able to filter out the superficial people very quickly with
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I just wonder if that people that look in on this community or people like us wonder if we're just a bunch of psychos. But the truth is 98% of us are just total fucking nerds, man.
It was a revelation to me as well. I think it was around, I don't know if the documentary was made around that time, but when Metallica made Master of Puppets, I think that was like a home visit for Kirk Hammett. May have been a couple of years later. I don't remember. And the guy is just a really, really big horror paraphernalia collector kind of guy, and he's very, very into it. And like you said, just very dorky about it. And I know that many people went like, "These guys made Master of Puppets. Like these guys, like
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it goes, man."
It's crazy, man.
Made me very happy to
and-
see, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, the guys from Deicide, specifically Glenn Benton, which I'm not. Glenn Benton is kind of a controversial person, but
I don't
at
know
his
much about him, to
core-
be honest.
yeah, at his core, he's a huge, huge horror fan.
No
and
surprise
huge
there.
fan of Evil Dead, specifically, which is why one of the songs, and I'm not even sure a lot of people even know it, but one of the songs on, God, what was the album? It's their second album. It might be the self-titled.
To be honest, I think I've only ever heard the first album, but I was never a big fan. So
Okay. They have a self-titled, and the third song on the album is Dead by Dawn. And
okay, yeah, that's
it's
an obvious
basically
one.
just the story of Evil Dead 2, which is
Since
interesting.
we're going on about bands being massive dorks before you even realizing it, for me it took forever to realize that Bolt Thrower is just Warhammer.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, like I was already into Warhammer and it still didn't click for me. Like I really
Yeah.
don't know how I didn't put the link there, but once you see
you'd
it,
have to read the lyrics.
yeah. But
you'd
I mean
have to read
Bolt
the
Thrower.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
one step away from just calling it Bolt Gun, basically.
you're right. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I knew that they were because I'd heard that before, but this is the first time I'm thinking about the name of the band.
The same,
You're
like for some
absolutely
reason,
right.
I always just thought of like someone who threw a spear or something, like a bolt.
Yeah.
That didn't. It's really weird how you can be blind about
Bolt gun.
something like that. Bolt
Okay.
gun.
Yeah.
Also,
Now I
cool
get it.
shooter, by the way.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Hey, since you like boomer shooters, right? I think bolt gun, from what I've seen, is probably also worth worth trying.
Yeah. It looks a lot like Doom, right?
Yeah, with some humor to it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Warhammer's always been a comedy.
Exactly.
It's a very dark subject matter, but also a comedy.
Exactly.
Event Horizon, you know that movie?
Yeah, that's to me feels like the most Warhammer movie that is not a Warhammer movie. It's
Because it
it's
was
really
supposed to
good.
be a Warhammer movie.
It was supposed to be, right? Like the ship is coming straight from the warp, basically.
That's what they were trying to do, and they did not get the rights. So they,
I think they did a great job of containing the essence of it, though. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty fucked up. Like the scenes, the shots of the visions. That the only movie that had a similar vibe to me was the original Ring. Like
yeah,
the cryptic scenes.
yeah,
I think that was particularly strong scene in that movie, which otherwise was all right, I guess. But yeah, those kinds of shots, like shots
That's-
that kind of they itch your subconscious somehow.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
I think that's the that those scenes are what sticks out in everybody's mind. If
Yeah.
you don't remember anything else about that movie, everybody remembers the flashback scenes that
Oh, yeah.
happen. And the truth is, we haven't done that movie for the podcast yet, but I can't
Mm.
wait until we do
Mhm.
because it's one of my favorite movies.
It's a really good movie, I think. Yeah.
There were an extra 15 minutes of those scenes that got cut from the film and then they lost forever.
Shit, dude. Yeah.
But it was going to be so much worse than it was.
Like I can imagine that some people might have been straight up traumatized by it. If that went on for 15 minutes, I think I would have felt bad afterwards. Honestly, it's pretty
'Cause it's
intense.
just torture. It's basically hell.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But anyway,
Evil Dead.
I digress. Whenever we get to that episode on this podcast, make sure you watch it because we'll go into that.
I will.
Yeah. So where are we? We got Ash has got the chainsaw on, right?
They go into the basement.
They
to
go into the
recover
basement to
pages.
go carve themselves a witch, which is what Ash says, right?
Mhm.
So, like you said, for whatever reason, Henrietta is very selective about what she does in the cellar because when he comes down, she's nowhere to be found.
It's very quiet.
Yeah, she just liquefied a guy.
Mhm.
And now she's hiding in a corner somewhere. Plot armor. Sure, whatever. Ash goes looking around for the pages and he finally finds the pages over in a corner next to a boiler. And he also finds the skeleton of Jake because he's been liquefied, right?
Mhm.
Finds the skeleton of Jake. Next to him are the pages. He takes the pages and starts heading back towards the stairs. When he starts heading back towards the stairs, he throws the pages up to Annie, which this didn't make any sense to me, but it doesn't have to, I guess. He throws the pages up to her. She immediately starts translating them aloud,
Mhm.
and he stays in the cellar on the stairs looking out into
Yeah,
darkness.
why would you do that, right?
I don't
That was
know.
just kind of silly.
I don't know. So she does that, and the minute she reads one passage, Henrietta grabs his legs from underneath the stairs and pulls him through the stairs. And this is kind of sped up. It looks really cool how they do it because he gets pulled back in a very quick, almost Three Stooges kind of way, you know?
Hmm.
And then she reads another passage and he gets spit out of the stairs, like really fast.
Mhm.
And then he heads up the stairs and she comes after him. Henrietta kind of comes out of the cellar and starts floating like this huge gelatinous ball of rotted flesh floating around the room, grabs Annie by the hair and is about to attack her. That's when Ash comes back out of the cellar with his chainsaw and basically insults her and says, "Let's go," right?
Mhm.
This is a cool scene because of the way the fight scene is filmed. It's been used in several movies as a homage to this. He slashes the chainsaw and that's all you see. And you see an arm fly across the screen.
Mhm.
He does it again and another arm flies across the screen. And then the last time he hits the thing in the neck and the head comes off and hits the ground. When it hits the ground, it immediately starts saying, "I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul."
Exactly. Yeah.
He pulls out the shotgun, points it
Swallow
down
this.
at the thing's face. Swallow this. Boom.
You know what? You know what I know that line from? When I was originally playing Doom as a kid, we had some kind of mod that had a sound pack, and the Pinkies said that exact line, like that exact sample, whenever they attacked you. Swallow this. Swallow this.
I'll swallow your soul.
No, swallow this.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
That's where I know that line from. That was like years before I even saw the movie.
That's crazy. It makes sense though. Like we were talking about, Doom was made from this. So the modding community of Doom is insane.
Insanity, dude. I still follow
But-
that to this day.
But that's how you do it with a video game. You make something and then you make the creator of the game, like the program, available for
Mm.
everybody.
Yeah. And
There's
what I
no
always-
game that has been more modded than Doom.
What I like about it is that no matter how crazy the modding scene for Doom gets, at no point do they make the original creator look like a chump. I feel like I think the original creators, for what they had, did a really fantastic job on it. I know that, of course, some of the Sandy Peterson maps are less popular, but honestly, when you look at the time frame they were made in, I think it's kind of unrealistic to have expected pure perfection on every single map. But the maps that Romero made were just masterpieces, every single one of them, nearly, I would say. To this day, they hold up. And even if there's some really, really insane mods and maps nowadays, well, we have had, I don't even know when the game was released, but decades of time to improve our skills. So I think it's really cool that it didn't undo the original
19
games. That's crazy, dude. 92. Damn, it's pretty early.
1992. The only reason I know that is because I'm a huge dork, and I got
Obviously.
the original. I got the original poster from Doom 1 when it was released with the actual first floppy, and then it
Awesome.
has the date that the poster was printed, and then I have the signatures of everybody that worked on
Oh
it.
man, I know that one. I know that version that they did back then. I always wanted it. Like, I was 6 years old when that happens.
Holy crap, dude! You're making me feel old as shit. God, how old was I?
I mean, you're not that much older than me, right?
I'm 46.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
7 years. 7 years adds up when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You were a teenager.
Yeah. But yeah, long fucking time ago. But Romero's maps still are the best, and he keeps releasing them.
He keeps releasing them. He also does like playthroughs with fans. Like, he has a rock star personality, but I can't help but like the guy. I think it's cool what he's doing.
Yeah. He's a good dude. I think his personality is just probably just for the fans.
Maybe.
I'm not really sure he's really like that. He's probably doing that just because
it's who he is.
Fun,
it's what he does.
know?
Yeah, but it doesn't bother me. And
No.
yeah, if anything, I think he's stuck to his roots. In that regard, like he's still making maps, and you can tell that they're not quick things for a quick buck. You can tell that he really wanted to show, look, I've still got it after all these years, and
yeah.
I think that's cool.
I think he was one of the, I mean, I hope I don't get slammed for this if I'm wrong, but I think he was one of the creators on Sigil as well, which is one of the.
Yeah, I think that was mainly
his
thing.
Right?
What wasn't it fully his thing? Like, of course, the music was by I think Andrew Hulschild and Buckethead. By the way, gotta be honest here.
Yeah,
I have to be honest. I think it was Andrew. I prefer Andrew's MIDI soundtrack over Buckethead's fully played metal version.
Me too.
I mean, Buckethead is cool. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I like the simplicity over the noodling. To be honest.
Yes, I think that's what made that game great, though, was that soundtrack, dude.
Yeah, it's metal.
The fact that
metal
it was
in pure
MIDI,
essence.
You still, without the music, it's just not.
No. To me, that was the introduction to metal. I didn't even know I liked metal, but I knew I liked it. Yeah,
Seriously?
That to me, like, I played Doom before I heard metal. I was 6 years old.
Holy crap.
And my dad didn't listen to metal, so to me, it would still take like nearly a decade until I heard Metallica stuff for the first time. So technically, Doom is the first metal I've ever heard. No, I liked it right away. I could tell, okay, this is awesome.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
That's interesting how different generations experience things.
Like, you were probably listening to Slayer at that point already.
I remember I was listening to Slayer and Pantera were my two big bands at the time. And I noticed immediately that one song was almost a Pantera song note per note. This Love, I think, is the name of the song. And I can't remember the episode, but I was like, this is This Love.
Yeah. It's
they just
straight
did it in
up
MIDI.
Like Bobby Prince did some interesting legal things there. Let's put it that way.
They got away with it though because it was a homage to metal.
Yeah, like I don't know. I always had a little bit of double feelings with it. I feel like there's homage, and there is just trying to legally rip something off. In some songs, I would call it a homage. And some songs, I felt like he just kind of got away with it because it was Doom. Like, I feel like those bands in those days could have easily sued them and probably won. But I can imagine, like, if someone used your soundtrack to make something like that right now, would you sue them?
Fuck no.
No, dude. Like, you are in Doom. How cool is that, to be honest, right?
Never.
It's a different time.
I would look at that as I'd be flattered by that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I imagine, and I hope that's what happened. I imagine that bands like Slayer heard that and hopefully were just cool with it, basically. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if they've ever been asked that question publicly.
The only surprising thing about that, though, I can see where the other bands like Slayer and Pantera probably wouldn't have said anything. What shocks me is that Metallica didn't.
That's true.
Because there's a song in there that resembles a song on Master of Puppets. Yes. Yeah. And they definitely could have sued. And considering what happened with Napster, I don't know why they didn't.
I think it's a different time. I think the couple of years that happened afterwards just changed their mentality on things. I think around the time that came out, they were maybe just a little bit more mellow still about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know.
Maybe. Still interesting. I figure Lars would have said something about that. But
probably.
Who'd have known? Coming from two musicians who would have known that all the grief that we gave Lars during that Napster thing, he was absolutely fucking
Yeah,
right. the whole
he
time.
was. I hate to say it, but yeah, he
Yep.
was.
Blows my mind to this day. I'm like
Like-
all the shit that all the metal musicians talked about that guy doing that. he
I
was
think we talked about it in one of our personal conversations. It's not so much like the message that he had, the realism behind it was correct. I think maybe it's the way that it was brought that just made it very not popular. And that's the thing with Lars. I think he gets some of the shit he gets is deserved. Some of the shit he gets is undeserved. He just has a personality that tends to be a bit abrasive, but that doesn't mean that everything he says is bullshit.
right.
Like, I think this is one of the cases where he had some kind of, what's it called? When you know something is about to happen and you're the only
Premonition,
one seeing it. Premonition, that's the one, exactly. I
Yeah.
feel like he had a premonition of what was about to come, was just not able to convince people about it because it's Lars.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Probably exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me jump back into this movie because if not, you and me are going to be up till 12:30.
Yeah, and we might make many other controversial statements.
No, we haven't said anything controversial yet. We're good. We are in the clear. We're safe. No worries. If there is something, I'll let you know what I cut out. That way, I'll be like, I thought about this, and I didn't think this was quite right, so I cut it.
I have no memory of agreeing with
No,
Lars
I don't know
Ulrich.
what you're talking about. Okay, so yeah, we get the fight between Ash and Henrietta. He serves her up, blows the head up, and then that's when Annie's like, okay, now we need to go ahead and translate this so that we can get this thing pushed in back to its world, right? So she starts reading the pages. As she's doing this, you notice the trees outside start to raise out of the ground. The outside of this cabin, this is kind of reminds me a little bit of what happens in like horror novels, like older horror novels, where everything outside of one location would just disappear. And it's just fog and trees and then nothing outside of that. And that's kind of what you're getting here, right? It's almost like a Cthulhu kind of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds a bit Lovecraftian, actually.
Lovecraftian, yeah. So the trees kind of get up out of the ground and they're marching towards the little bit of Lord of the Rings, like marching.
That's the
towards
next
the
one I was
cabin.
going to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, if anything, it might have been from Lord of the Rings, because that's basically exactly what I forgot what their names are. Not the tree ants themselves, but the regular trees that are just angry, basically. Like they're kind of unnerving, and they're not really shown in the movie. So
yeah. Well, it's Lovecraftian, but it's got a little bit of that too. Like the normal trees, not the ants, like you said.
Forgot they had a special name. I forgot it. Yeah.
And then one of these things, I can't remember it either. And then one of these things attacks the cabin, right? And so she reads, there's two passages, and they described this earlier. There's a passage that makes the evil become flesh.
Yeah.
So it makes the evil kind of embody itself into a physical form. The second part of the passage opens up a rift in time and space that sends that demon or that evil back in time, right? So she reads the first part of the passage, and before she can get to the second part, it's enough for one of these things to possess a tree and takes the form of this monster that's a tree monster. It comes through the door, reaches its hand in. By the way, do you know the movie Poltergeist?
Yeah, I was thinking about it just now, like that big branch.
Tree hand.
Yeah, exactly. The big branch hand that comes through the window, right?
The exact same prop from this movie.
No way.
Yes. Yes.
That I also didn't know.
Yeah, Poltergeist.
I know that I liked it in both of them.
Poltergeist came first, and Randy was like, "Well, we got that big tree hand sitting back there in the shop.
Can we use that thing in the shadow over there?" Workshop.
So that thing comes out. It grabs Ash. He's fighting with this thing while she's trying to translate the last passage. She finally translates it. This thing gets sucked out of the cabin. And it's a cool scene because everything kind of gets sucked out of the cabin that's evil. And then it goes quiet. And they're just standing there talking to each other. And then all of a sudden, all the doors blow off the cabin. And you realize the cabin is actually sitting in the middle of this rift.
Yeah, I really love that shot. That's really cool, I think.
And as she's reading the last passage, she gets the Kandarian dagger in her back with Ash's hand. So Ash's hand grabbed the dagger to stab her to try to get her to stop reading the end of the passage. But she made it through the whole thing and read it. So now Ash is now getting pulled out of the cabin towards this rift. If you were to stop it right here and open up on Army of Darkness, this is the opening of Army of Darkness.
Yep, it is. And what a jump it is, by the way.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like I love the transition between these two movies. Although at the end of Evil Dead 2, I wish that they had not done the beginning of Army of Darkness because they had to go in and change it.
That's kind of awkward, I agree.
It is.
But
Go
I
ahead.
imagine when people saw that for the first time in the cinema, they had to have been like, what the fuck? What the
Yeah.
fuck just happened, right?
But in a good way, I would assume, because there's no way you watch this movie unless you're, I don't know, unless you're just someone who doesn't enjoy fun. Unless you watch this movie and then not been excited about that.
That's the thing. Like, I saw the third one before this one, so I already knew he would end up there.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this movie thinking, like, at what point is this going to make any sense? At what point is he suddenly going to be in that different world? And then they just drop it out of nowhere in the last 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
like, okay.
And it does come out of nowhere. And I think that's the point. He gets sucked through this rift. Of course, you see the Oldsmobile go through the rift as well. So his car goes. And then you just kind of see him spinning in space. And then all of a sudden there's an explosion and he falls from the sky and into this place that looks like kind of like the sand area, which I'm not even sure where that would be in England. Is there any part of England that looks like...
Is it in England? Is it shot in England?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, it takes place in medieval England.
Okay.
So where is this? Because this looks like a fucking desert, man.
It really does. Like, I always imagined that they maybe filmed it in North Africa or something like that.
I mean, it's probably somewhere in California, like Mojave Desert area is where I would assume, because it looks like that.
Could also be,
But there is no place in England that looks like this. Which
I mean, I've not been to every place of England, so I couldn't say for sure, but maybe.
There's no deserts in England. Let's put it that way. But he lands in what looks like a desert that's supposed to be medieval England and stands up and realizes there's a whole army of medieval knights, 13th century armor knights standing in front of him. Which, by the way, this is just everybody you see here in the scene is just cast and crew dressed up.
I figured, yeah. Yeah, why not, right? Like, give them their moment of glory. Why not? They've deserved it by this point.
Put on the armor and stand there, you know? So he's standing there and is wondering what the hell's going on. There's all these knights standing in front of him. And then this winged creature that kind of looks like a half human, half bat thing. We see this thing again in Army of Darkness, but it looks much, much, much better than this.
Yeah.
You know, this thing flies down and is about to attack him. He pulls out the double barrel shotgun, blows its head off. Of course, everybody that's in the crowd in front of him is like,
I love that.
Fuck? You know,
I really love that. Like, it's from that moment onward, Ash is an action hero, basically.
Yes.
Like, he just literally drops out of the sky and shoots a weapon that no one has ever seen before. Like, it's very clear where that this guy is important and
automatically a god. But the best part of that is he does not fucking want to be that guy.
Nope.
He hates this shit. And he's screaming no, because everybody standing around him is like,
"Hail
he
the
who falls from
God.
the sky that has come to deliver us from the evil of the Deadites," and they're all cheering for him, and he's like, "No." And I think that's why Ash works as a character so well, because
he's an anti-hero somehow.
He's an anti-hero who didn't ask for any of this shit, does not want to be there, doesn't want to play his part, and just reluctantly goes through with it.
Which is foreshadowing for the third installment.
And that's the end of Evil Dead 2 and the beginning of Army of Darkness.
What a movie. So yeah, I still had a question for you. Since this is the middle movie, to me it feels a little bit like it has a little bit of that middle child syndrome. It's a bit of the first, a bit of the third, and a bit of its own. And I think because of that, people either think this is the best one or maybe the least one. And I would like to know what you think about that.
Oh, man. Well, in terms of enjoying the movies, I enjoy Army of Darkness more than I do this one. But in terms of which is the better movie, I think Evil Dead 2 is the better movie, if that makes sense.
It's a really difficult thing, right? Because, it does totally make sense. I have similar feelings. I think the thing about Army of Darkness is a really fun movie. It's just something like it is actually. I would say this is a family movie. You can enjoy this if you have a family that is a little bit into this kind of stuff. You can just really have a good time with that movie. Evil Dead 2 is a little bit more out there. Let's put it that way. So I feel like it doesn't really have that vibe to it. But because of that, Evil Dead 3 isn't really a horror movie. It is a
It's a
horror
horror-themed movie, yes.
movie
Yes.
that's just good fun.
It's definitely not a horror movie.
So when it comes to the horror themed movies, I could say for the horror themed movies of Evil Dead 2 is the best. But when it really comes to which one I think is the best movie, I would say it's 3 because I just
Yes,
enjoy watching it from
Army
start
of
to back more.
Darkness
Let's put it that
is
way.
literally the most fun of all the movies. It's also
It
got the
is.
best dialogue.
And I think there's also it's just
Yes.
absolutely hilarious. It's just really funny. And the thing about Army of Darkness is also I don't think there's any scene in that movie that I do not like. Whereas in Evil Dead 2, as I already said, I don't really care much for the side characters.
Yeah.
And to me, and the entrance of the movie always felt weird to me. Like they go from Evil Dead 1 to a very quirky, almost comic-like style that always rubs me a little bit wrong until I click with it. So I guess it's just a bit jarring for me in that regard. You know what it always reminds me of? We've talked about Death before, but as you know, it's one of my
I love
favorite
Death
bands.
too,
So it's like
please twist
it's
my
the
arm to
album
talk about
Spiritual
Death.
Healing by Death. To me, it's like the album Spiritual Healing by Death. It's not classic Death. It's not. Let's just call it modern Death. You know
It's
what I
not
mean when I say
human,
classic
and
and
it's
modern
not
Death, right? Like
the sound of perseverance at all. Yeah.
it's not leprosy, exactly. It's somewhere in between, and it makes that I enjoy it least because it's neither of those things really for me. And that's a bit the feeling I get with Evil Dead 2. Like I think when it comes to pure traditional horror, I think Evil Dead 1 is probably the best one. But in a way, I would also say that 1 is a little bit more generic because of that. Like it doesn't really have the established rules of the franchise yet.
Well,
Let's
it's
put it
that,
way.
and to me, it feels like. See if this makes any sense. It feels like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are kind of the same film, right? Because
they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's part 1
the
and part 2.
tone is exactly the same. Army of Darkness doesn't have the blood and gore factor, but I don't think that really matters. Like if you were to watch Evil Dead 2 and then Army of Darkness, you probably wouldn't notice that, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't at first. I didn't realize that.
And I don't know what that
gory.
says. Like maybe I'm a little bit desensitized. I don't know. That I didn't notice that, but I could watch Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and not really notice that there was 2 different films there. Evil Dead 1 kind of stands on its own as its own thing. Like I know it's part of the story, but
it's like a prequel.
It's not really. I mean, they try their best to tie it together in the series to where it makes sense, and they do a good job explaining it away. And if you take that explanation, then it all makes sense, right? But I don't look at Evil Dead 1 as the same thing as Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 3.
Yeah, it does not feel like a trilogy in that regard.
Not at all. And to be honest, I'm not really sure that that's what they were going for anyway. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they really enjoyed this universe and they really enjoyed the character of Ash, and they couldn't give a damn if they kept the rights or not. They were like, we just need to make another movie,
Yeah. Like, if anything, it's good that they did, because as much as I enjoy Evil Dead 1, I don't see them making 3 movies just like that. I think then you get that classic horror schlock thing where you just feel like it's just the same movie just being made over and over again. I tend to just not really like that. At some point, you're just like, okay, the guy's just gonna get up again and then just gonna try to kill you again. Like, that gets old to me really fucking fast. And had they done that with Evil Dead, would have been pretty boring, I think. So I really like that they invented a way to put that slapstick in there. Let's put it that way.
I appreciate that.
And then with the third movie, actually just putting almost like a blockbuster kind of action sequences in there. Like I think for what they had, I think they did an absolutely great job. Of course, we will explore that next time in more detail.
When we do Army of Darkness, we'll get into all that, because there's a lot of things about that movie that I just finished. This is going to sound stupid because I just finished saying that I feel like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are kind of the same film, but there's a lot of things about that movie that are very different than part 2, but they're very subtle. But I think it's what makes the movie. Like Ash in Evil Dead 2 takes himself seriously, and he's not super funny and sarcastic yet. He's just a guy stuck in a shitty situation, and he's gone a little bit crazy. Army of Darkness, he is the most sarcastic prick, and he acts like he knows everything about everything. And it's because in Evil Dead 2, nobody else has seen what's happened to him. So he just shows up and they think he's a hero. So he runs with it and acts like that. And I think that's hilarious.
Because he wants something out of them, he wants to be sent back. So he's like, okay, if you're going to call me a hero, sure, whatever. If you'll do what I want, then that's cool with me,
Yeah.
basically. And then everyone's leaving this for the other movie. What I was going to say, the thing is also with Evil Dead 1 and 2, there's basically one, what do you call it? I wouldn't call it a weakness, but it is a limiting factor. They're just always stuck in that cabin, and there's only so much you can do with something like that, I feel. And they did it. I mean, they went absolutely bonkers for what you can do in a single room. But the third movie had to be something widely different, or else it would have just been nothing. And that's the thing that sets Evil Dead 3 apart for me. There's more of a journey in that, because he's actually going somewhere. He's moving different places. You see different things, and that's something Evil Dead does not have for me. You basically have the cabin and you have the woods, which is quite minimal in this movie.
That's all you get. The third one would it wouldn't have worked if it was claustrophobic like part 2. It needed to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why I noticed that when I think back of it, I think I would pick Evil Dead 3 over 2, because I just noticed, okay, I have more memories of that movie. I have more images and scenes that I can remember, because there's just more.
Interesting story too. Did you know that the third movie was supposed to be called Medieval Dead?
I think I've heard that once before, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It was probably taken, right?
The problem is the studio did not want it to be associated with Evil Dead 2, which makes no sense whatsoever.
But it's
because
straight
Army
up a
of
continuation
Darkness
of it,
makes no sense for it to have that title. It should have been Medieval Dead, not Army of Darkness, but Medieval Dead. That would have made so much sense. I wish they'd have done that.
It is.
But, I mean, it is Army of Darkness to me.
And now, all right. One of the closing words.
So, thanks for being here for this. You know, this is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Of course. Same here, dude.
Like I originally said I wanted him to do a couple of movies with us. He immediately said Evil Dead, and then said, well, if I'm going to do Evil Dead, I would really like to do Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. And me and Mike were like, yes. Thank you for being enthusiastic. Thank you for wanting to do this. And thank you for giving me so much of your time. I know I've said this to you offline, but I kind of want everybody else to hear it. You are very choosy with your time because of a lot of different factors. And I really am thankful that you gave a lot of it to us and to me. That means the world to me. So thank you.
To me, it was really, really my pleasure, absolute pleasure. To me, it's really enjoyable to do something like this, because this is a passion of mine as well. And I feel like I get to be myself more in these sorts of things than I would be maybe in, for example, an interview or something. And this feels more natural to me. To me, this is just a conversation between friends. And I think that's kind of the point of it. Anytime, really. And I'd be happy to do the next one.
Oh, yeah, you're doing Army of Darkness.
It's a little bit late to get off of the wagon right now.
We're going to do Army of Darkness right now, dude. We're just going to roll right into it. No, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do that.
Keep recording.
Is there anything you want to say about Shylmagoghnar? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say to your fans?
Nothing in particular, but I guess what I do want to say, or what I do want to reconfirm, is Shylmagoghnar is still alive and is still being worked on, and I think that's probably the most important message here, right? And I personally am right now doing better than I was in the last couple of years.
Awesome.
I think that's really all I can say. Everything else is just a process, a work in progress. But when the state to make something is there, then everything else just tends to follow. And that's kind of where I am right now, and that's kind of what I'm hoping will continue. I will not say too much to not jinx it, but basically, it's not that. It's still,
I think
still alive.
If I heard much less from you than I hear right now, if that was all I heard, I'd be happy. So we're good.
Hopefully someone will be happy about that.
Everybody that stuck around for the episode and everybody that liked the last one, stay tuned for when we announce Army of Darkness, and we're gonna have Nim back on. Yeah,
looking forward, guys.
Nim, thanks a lot, dude.
Thank you too.
Until then, I'm Matt.
I'm Nim. See you guys.
The blackest dies. The darkest dies. Simply